weighs more than the thing. All right. All right, how about that? Odie, if you'll turn around and look at the camera, everybody can see us. Come around this way. We'll share.
All right, we'll come on this side.
All right.
Hey, there we are.
There we are. We're getting ready to start. We'll be up and going in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, something like that. We're about 5 minutes to 6 now. So we've got a lot of people coming in here. It looks like we're going to have a full room.
It is. Now, if you've got a question for this, make sure you're here. The doc's ready. I see him there, all geared up. He's got a water bottle. He's ready. Even a towel.
I'm not going to have to chase him tonight like I did with the other camera.
Not good.
Not good. We're going to have to cut that up just a little bit. Can y'all hear this at all out there?
Anybody?
And it's going to come up a little bit when they when everybody quietens down a little bit. I think it'll be all right. So there's Doc wave at everybody that's out there watching and live. So yeah.
You want to say anything nice about your wife over here? You love her? What a great woman she is? Anything like that?
Don't want to put you on the spot or nothing, did we?
You were buying her what?
Remember, we're live.
All right, we're going to turn it up. The microphone's in the studio, and then not in the studio, but in the gym.
In the gym.
And we'll be starting in just a few moments.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Andrea Williams, and I handle communications for the district. And tonight we are here for the final community meeting discussing the Lauderdale County School District's Career and Technical Education Project. Now tonight, of course, we're going to have our superintendent, Dr. John Mark Kane. He will outline information, specifics you might want to know. How much could this cost? Things of that nature. And we're also going to have Mr. Smith, our Career and Technical Education Director, and he's going to outline what programs. And if you want to see for yourself, these are some basic renderings or pictures that kind of show you what it should look like. Now tonight, if you do have, and after they talk, that's when we're going to allow questions, and we would love to hear from you. And if we're going to ask, if you have a question for it to get answered, please go to the podium. And so that way everyone can hear your question, and we won't have to repeat that. So thank you all so much for coming out tonight. We do appreciate it. This is, we're going to start with you, Dr. Kane.
Thank you, Andrea. I usually move around a lot, so the little microphone here, thank you, Scotty, Ray, for that. I'll try to stick to this. Thank you for coming out tonight. I know many of you have a lot of questions and concerns, and there's some things that you're just not sure about. Obviously, you've heard a lot of different things over the past 6 to 8 weeks about this project and what it means and how it impacts our students, our youth, and our future. I want to take you back a little bit about how this project started from the standpoint of where we are now. Back in 2018, we had a strategic planning meeting, which is a plan that sets course for Lauderdale County School District for the next 5 years. That meeting consisted over about 2,000 to 2,500 survey responses. We had about 60 or so stakeholders come to meet with us downtown at MSU Calmus and a venue there. And from there, we got together and really started hashing out a plan for the next 5 years of Lauderdale County. We had business leaders, we had educators, we had students, we had elected officials. We had a broad spectrum of community members there to help guide this plan. We had some goals that came out of that plan, but the number one goal we had was to increase student opportunities. And within that goal and under student opportunities, one of the main goals we had was to increase career and technical education opportunities. Now, we are a bit of a challenge in Lauderdale County because we have 4 separate school zones. That makes us unique versus a lot of small districts in the state of Mississippi. So the other aspect of increasing career and technical education when you have 4 separate school zones was to do the best we could with the resources that we've got and the future plans of identifying and then providing as much as that to as many students as we could. Within that goal of advancing career and technical education, it was to explore centralized location. A centralized location that could help reduce travel time for the most possible, but also collaborate our resources into one location. Again, to provide as much as we could for as many students as we could. That trek started trying to look at a location that could potentially be the future of this center. We originally located a facility out on Highway 19, a former grocery store. We went after that location for almost a year, trying to negotiate with the owners, and we simply could not come to an agreement. Then we started exploring other locations. And then by chance, we happened to come across the building on 11 and 80. The building on 1180 is an old PV building. And so we got out to look and explore the building and found out who owned, and we contacted, and sure enough, they said they were interested in selling the facility. We went through the proper channels of getting those commercial appraisals. We were able to find an agreement on a price, and we executed that purchase. So now we had a building. Well, at this time, there was some transition at our office. Our former Career and Technical Education Center director, Mr. Cheatham, was retiring. Mr. Cheatham's with us tonight. Good to see you, sir. And so we had to look for the next Career and Technical Education Director, and the one that came to mind was Mr. Rob Smith. Rob had been in career and technical education or in education in general for 28 years and had been over at Ross Collins for 9 years. As you know, we have a relationship with Ross Collins and the city school district. We have students that go there, and Rob will tell you about that a little later on. So we had a building. We needed someone to take us to where we wanted to go over the next few years. We reached out to Mr. Rob, and Rob said, I'm willing to go with you, take on the challenge, and be a part of this. So as we went forward, we had our director now, and we started to go to work. And work involved trying to identify the industries that we needed, trying to do the research that would help us get to where we wanted to go with the programs that we needed. What were we going to identify as needs for the community? And so we continued to work on that and try to iron that out, and then we finally got to where we had a decent plan, definitely not final, but we had a vision. And as you know, there was a lot of federal monies coming through the state government as COVID relief money and a lot of workforce development money in Jackson. There was a lot of discussion about the state investing in projects that they believed in. And so we took our plan to Jackson. We wanted to meet with legislatures and discuss our plan and talk about the vision that we had for expanding career and technical education in Lauderdale County. We were able to meet with those legislators, and the talks were promising. We like your project. We'll get in touch with you. We'll let you know. So months go by, and we get a phone call from the higher-ups down there and say, we think we're going to be able to get you some money for your project. And that's great. And he said, we think we're going to be able to secure $8 million for your project. And I'll be honest, that was an unheard of amount of money for a school district to receive for such a project. Most districts that I had been in contact with up until that time had received $1 to $2 million from the legislature for an appropriation of this type program. So to hear $8 million appropriation was really unheard of. So we were really excited at that point. And what that did was it caused us to move into overdrive. Now we had $8 million at our back that we really didn't see coming. We were anticipating a smaller amount, which had been traditionally granted by the legislature. So now we had $8 million at our back. So this thing, again, sped up. So then those visions that we had, the vision that we had of moving forward with career and technical, then it really started to get into, okay, let's fine tune this. What are we really going to go for? And so Mr. Smith, in conjunction with, again, working with industry, working with local economic developers, working with Accelerate Mississippi, looking at twin district data, having conversations with steering committees and teams that we have here in the county, identified a set of programs that we thought we needed for our students. Got with an architect and we said, these are the programs, design what we need. And so the design was completed and it's a great design. It's got the programs that we think are essential for not only the industry that we have, but the industry that we hope to attract in the future, and the careers and pathways and skills for the students that we see that they're excited about, that they're interested in. So now we have this plan. It's on paper. Architect comes and says, here, we've got your plan together. Okay. We look at the plan and it's great. But there's an issue. And the issue is it's going to be a $20 million project. So we go to the board and we say, board, we've got our plan. That's great. It is great. We look at the plan, we show the plan, we talk about the plan, we discuss the plan. But there's a but. And the but is we're looking at a $20 million project. We've got an $8 million appropriation from the legislature. So then the debate starts. What do we do? What are our options? Well, there's a few. Options are, do we want to move forward? Do we want to stop? Do we want to back up? So the debate was, how do you secure these monies? What are our options? Looking around what we've got and what we see, I said the only option we have is to consider a bond issue. So we discussed that. Well, what does that look like? We can get the right people in the room. We can discuss it. We'll find out what it looks like. So we do. We reach out to Jim Young's office. Jim Young is a bond attorney with the state of Mississippi. He works for municipalities, local governments, school districts. And we discuss this and what it looks like. Come back to the board, say, this is what we've got. And there was debate. And the board decided, well, let's let the voters decide. And that was my recommendation to the board. Let's let the voters decide. And so we moved forward with this, and that's where we got to this point. This is where we are. We have what we think is a great plan for our students, a great plan for our future, because we've got to look around and say, what are our students going to do? Are we preparing them for the skills and the career of tomorrow? Are we doing all that we can for all students? And so here we are, and this is where we are. And that's the discussions that we've had now since mid-August. And thank you for coming out tonight and trying to ask us questions, and you will ask us questions. Ask us those questions and ask us to clarify our vision and what we're wanting to do and what we're wanting to accomplish and other thoughts that went into this. So that's all the backdrop. I'm going to ask Mr. Smith to come up and discuss the programs. And I want him to go through the programs and the thought behind the programs and how we got to this point with these programs. And then, as we said, we're going to open it up for questions for you, comments, concerns, because we want you to leave with your answers. And that's why you came tonight, for answers. And if we can't provide you an answer tonight, we definitely would try to get you one, okay? So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Smith at this time.
Well, good evening, everybody. You heard the phrase, when you're in Rome, do as the Romans, right? We're in the kingdom, so we're going to be casual in the kingdom tonight, right? All right. So, again, I would just want to echo the fact that I really appreciate you being here tonight to hear the vision behind this project, and I'm going to try my best to use my words over the next few minutes to relay that vision to you. But you have to kind of know a little bit about where my passion comes from to know where the passion of this project is going. I'm local. I grew up on the edge of Kemper and Lauderdale County in a little community called Blackwater. Went to a small school in Kemper and had a great school experience, wonderful school experience. But not one time did anybody ever sit me down and say, what are your career aspirations? What would you like to do in the future? What makes you tick? What makes you get up in the morning? What makes you enjoy what you do? Well, like I said, I had a good school experience, but I never had that conversation with anybody, not a counselor, not a teacher. My parents were great about guiding me, and I grew up on a farm, so I knew how to do things with my hands. I knew how to do technical things. So I graduated high school. I did not know what I wanted to do, but I knew what I didn't want to do, and that was go into education. Because my parents were educators. Matter of fact, my father was an ag teacher here at West Lauderdale for many years. My mother taught elementary school here at West Lauderdale. So we're grounded here. We're rooted here. So I really love this area. I'm passionate about this area, and I want to see it progress and move forward. Now, I need to take you on a little bit of a train ride for just a moment, because I need you to have that light bulb moment like I did when I started digging into some of the local research here to figure out if this is something we really need. So bear with me just a minute. I'm not going to stay long in the data, but just bear with me. I got some great news for y'all. 80% of the students in Mississippi actually graduate high school and go to college. Can I get an amen on that? That's great. That's a great statistic, okay? We're second in the nation. Did you know that? Second in the nation for sending students to college. But I got to take you down to another little statistic for just a moment. For students who actually go to college, that 80%, do you know how many actually end up with a bachelor's degree or a higher degree? That's only 30%. So we're second from the bottom in the nation, right above West Virginia, in students who actually finish with a 4-year advanced degree. Now, you all are smart people in this room. Think about what's happening. Why do we have such a disparity in the number that are going to college versus those who are actually finishing with a degree? I firmly believe it's because students have not found their passion, and they have not found it early, and they have been told, look, go to college and figure it out there. That's what I was told. Go to college and figure it out. You know what? I did go to college. You know why I went to college? Because I had a friend who needed a roommate. What a great reason to go to college, right? So I went, and I actually went way off from home. And I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I knew I was supposed to take general ed courses, but I came from the farm. Remember me telling you that? I opened up the catalog and I had to pick some electives, and I saw a class called Farm Economics. I said, you know what? That's something a country boy can do. He comes from the farm. That ought to be a SOC class for an elective. Well, I stand before you today not embarrassed to tell you there's only one class I failed in college, and that was Farm Economics. Well, all of a sudden, I almost became one of those statistics, because students are going in without knowing what they're doing, without a passion and having a pathway that's clear in their mind, and they're getting there and finding unsuccessful, for the most part, in a lot of ways, and not finding that direction of that pathway. Now, naturally, what my mother and father did is they pulled me back home and sent me to East Mississippi Community College. And I'm not going into all that, but there was one man on that campus that pulled me in his office and said, Rob, I know where you come from. You come from the farm. I know you like working with your hands. Let's open up this catalog at Mississippi State and look at it. And this industrial technology degree awfully sounds a lot like you. I opened it up, and those pages came alive. It was welding, it was forge and foundry, it was small engine, it was hydraulics, it was all the stuff that I did on the farm, and then the pages just came alive. And if it had not been for that one person that sat me down, I would have very easily become that 30% statistic that did not finish with that degree. Okay? So I wanted to share that with you so that I could share the passion behind this whole vision of this project. And it's not about me. It's something that I have witnessed over the last 27, 28 years, being in career technical education, of gaps that I see. Now, Dr. Kane mentioned that I was at Ross Collins for the last 9 years. I was in West Point, Mississippi for 17 years in the Golden Triangle area, and was able to be a part of the Golden Triangle area when all that industry started booming up there. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You've probably seen in the paper that aluminum plant that's opening up there. There's 700 jobs coming open at about $90,000 a job. Look, y'all don't start running out the door, okay? So there's good jobs opening up in that community. And how did all that happen up there? Well, that happened, and I was a part of all of that. And I was part of Career Technical Center there in West Point, Mississippi. What I saw was educational, as well as business, as well as economic developers come to the table, and everybody put their differences to the side and create pathways for students from high school, from kindergarten, from K-12, through high school, through post-secondary, all the way through. A seamless pathway where there was no blocks in the middle. Okay? Well, 2013, the good Lord was calling us back home, and I'm glad. There just weren't many jobs in career technical education, but one came open there at Ross Collins. I walked in, I got the job. I interviewed at the central office downtown. I got the job, and they took me on the tour of the center for the very first time after I'd accepted. And I'm going to try to be as nice as I can when I say this, but the first program they took me to was drafting. That program had been in that center for 50 years, I guess. And it was the wooden tables that were sitting there with the lights on the top, and they were still drawing stuff out by hand. And I thought, no industry does that anymore. I mean, it's all computer-aided drafting now. Now, there may be some individual industries that still do, hand drafting, but I said, we got to do something here. So for 9 years, we converted a lot of programs there. I converted that drafting to engineering that had computer-aided drafting that led students into civil, mechanical, electrical engineering. We revamped the automotive shop where it has half of an associate's degree from Reading Community College before they even graduate high school. We built one of the best dual credit scenarios in the state of Mississippi, where students are leaving and walking out of our doors with potentially half an associate's degree under their belt, if not 12 to 15 hours. So I spent a lot of time there at Ross Collins converting those programs. We sincerely maxed out a space there. And as Dr. Kane mentioned, we also accepted county students there at Ross Collins. We have about 65 to 70 slots available for county students. It depends on the numbers that Meridian High puts in their program and the slots that we have, but we're actually paying for slots. But over the years, I've watched and witnessed and noticed that many, many county students wanted to be in those particular programs, but could not be in them because space was not available. Now, I also need you to know moving forward that I poured my heart into Ross Collins, and we are not duplicating programs at Ross Collins. As a matter of fact, we're going to continue that relationship that we have with Ross Collins. This project is going to be an expansion of career technical education, not a duplication of what's already going on. So our students will have access to cutting-edge programs there at Ross Collins. They will have access to cutting-edge programs there at our new center, hopefully. So let me back up on this and say, when you're making these plans, and you kind of sort of, I hate to use this word, but getting beat up a little bit back and forth, you kind of wonder if your plan is really solid. And so yesterday, Dr. Kane and I and a few other folks went and visited a classroom at Clarkdale. And they gave me the ability to roll out the vision that I'm about to roll out to you here. And I asked them, I said, before I started my whole spiel, I said, who in here has had a conversation with somebody about what those next steps are going to be in high school, in college, and who's helping you choose your pathway? I got no feedback or response from the whole group at all. And it was kind of sort of what I expected. I thought when I was going in, maybe times have changed since I graduated high school. But unfortunately, that whole class couldn't tell me that anybody really had a really sit-down conversation with them. That's what we've got to change, folks. After I got through explaining this vision to them, I did ask them the question, of all of these programs that I have just mentioned, did this touch anybody? Did it strike a nerve? Did it kind of give you a passion or a tickle about something you might like to do in the future? And I'm happy to say that 100% of them raised their hands. So without further ado, let me talk to you about some of the programs that we're putting in or proposing to put in this new center. The first one I'm glad to talk to you about is advanced manufacturing. So that's a degree of welding, that's a degree of programmable logic controllers, that's CNC machining. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. There is a great program at Meridian Community College in machining, precision machining, that this program is going to ignite the passion in the students in the 10th, 11th, and 12th grade and push them into that. And by the way, remember I told you that all of these programs are going to be dual enrolled with post-secondary education. Every one of them will be. I was talking to a gentleman earlier about the fact that when a student learns a competency, they learn a competency. That's one of the things I have noticed, that there is a division between secondary and post-secondary education, and we're duplicating a lot of resources in this country because they learn something in high school, and basically they go to college and enter the same program over there, and they have to start all over again. A lot of times, students don't even follow it all the way through to the end because they get bored and burnt out because they have already learned stuff in high school trade classes. So what we're proposing to do in this project is to be a middle college scenario. I don't have time to go into all the details of that, but if you want to write that down in Google, middle college, that is catching on in a lot of other parts of this country, but has not so much yet here in Mississippi. We propose to be a model for middle college, and we're unique in the fact that we have one community college, we have one university. Y'all realize we have all of that right here in Lauderdale County? We can come to the plate together and we can align our programs so that when students learn competencies in high school, they follow that all the way through college. And when they learn it, they learn it. And potentially that's going to help students get into the workforce much quicker and sooner, even if they decide to go through the whole post-secondary route. Am I making sense so far? Give me a head nod. I'm a teacher. I need feedback. Okay, all right, thank you. So advanced manufacturing, great program. Next one, my wife is here tonight. She's never seen me dance, but here we go, y'all. I'm excited about this one. Agricultural power. So I got to tell you how this happened. Was walking around talking to some of our industry partners, walking to Parish Tractor there on Highway 1180. I was telling them about the ACT work keys that all of our seniors take here in Lauderdale County. The problem is our students are not finding relevance in that test, and what that does is it tests them based on workplace skills, okay? It gives a rating of what those workplace skills are. I asked them, would you be willing to consider those test results as part of your hiring process so that we can become an ACT work-ready community? That's a whole nother conversation for another day, okay? As I was walking out the door, they said, you know what, Kubota is wanting to land a training center here somewhere in the southeastern United States. I said, well, we happen to be working on a center 200 yards from your facility here. How would you like to have that conversation? So next thing I know, the folks from Texas and Kubota corporate were coming down. I kicked the ball over to Meridian Community College because I knew they were putting in a diesel mechanic program. And then all of a sudden the conversation came back around, and I thought this will be one of those perfect scenarios that we can create that pathway all the way from high school through community college, through post-secondary, however far they want to go. Long story short is we're going to be teaching ag power. That doesn't mean we're specifically going to be teaching all Kubota stuff, but we will be offering the Kubota 100 National Certification as part of our programming. Meridian Community College will be teaching the 200 and 300 National Certification. So this is also one of those examples where there's exit points along the way. Students will be able to exit high school with a certification under their belt, or they will be able to choose to go on to Meridian Community College and finish with a post-secondary degree, associate degree, or did you know that now CTE credits will transfer to a BAS degree at Mississippi State University? As of 3 years ago, that happens. So y'all, here's a conversation that we need to quit having with students. Just listen to me and bear with me a second. We need to quit telling students you need to go to college or you need to go to trade school and have to make that choice. What if we build post-secondary education into our trade school, and you have a conversation with a student and they say, you know what, I think I want to go into this diesel mechanic pathway. You don't have to choose between trade school or college. You go to trade school and you're going to get to college under your belt while you're there. Now, y'all, please tell me, doesn't that make more sense? Yes. Yeah, okay, thank you. So, again, it's one of those situations where we're trying to create a seamless pathway all the way through, okay? I have to tell you a little testimony. My son graduated Northeast in 2020. It is now 2023. He has a bachelor's degree of communication already under his belt from Mississippi State University. That's 3 years. How did he do that? He went into CTE. He took CTE dual credits. He also took academic dual credits through his school, through Meridian Community College, and pretty much, well, he finished a year early because of all of those credits that he had leaving high school. That saved me $26,000. You're talking about a return on investment. That was a great return on investment. I would say that I would go buy you a truck, but if y'all priced trucks lately, I don't think I'll be doing that. All right, let me move on. All right, next program that's hopping up on our list, aviation. Y'all know we're an aviation town. We have the Navy base, we have Dean Aircraft, we have an airport, we've got the longest runway in Mississippi at Key Field. We've got a lot of industry here that centers around aviation. Now, there is no curriculum yet, but that curriculum is being developed by the Research and Curriculum Unit at Mississippi State University, and by the time our center is proposed to be finished, that curriculum will be finished and available, and we'll be the first high school in the state that offers aviation. Now, I'm telling you, when I mention this to students, when I walk across our campuses and I look at them in the face and say, hey, what do you think about flying drones and working on an airplane in high school? Their eyes light up. I mean, imagine the possibilities of being able to fly drones and airplanes. Think about that. That might not appeal to some of us older ones, but man, these younger ones, they're in that. They want to see that. They want to be a part of it. There'll be a degree of mechanics, but there will also be a degree of pilot focus as well. Now remember, our focus is to get students engaged into the pathway and get them moving on through. All right? Business, marketing, economics. If we have a student that wants to go into be an entrepreneur, wants to be a business owner, wants to be a in banking, did I say that already? I've done this speech so much it's kind of running together in my head. But anyway, that's business, marketing, economics. We currently have 2 of those programs in our district. We're going to consolidate those 2, move the one to the center, and all of our students will be able to have access to that program. Right now, West does not have access to that program, but will after that is in place. Construction, engineering, technology. We're going to leave 2 construction programs at our schools. We have one at Southeast, we have one at Northeast. Remember, we also have a construction program at Ross Collins. So I'm deciding to leave those programs at the individual schools because they're so deep ingrained in those schools, it would be difficult to pull them out. But we're going to offer something for students who finish those programs their senior year in construction engineering. We have students that want to go on into civil engineering, they want to do computer-aided drafting, they want to do materials testing, they want to take what they learn in their construction classes to the next level. Maybe they want to be a contractor themselves. So I'm proud to say, this is the talk so far, that this is actually going to be a Meridian Community College program, and it is going to be a post-secondary curriculum taught by a post-secondary teacher. That'll be one of the first we ever put in that way, okay? Culinary. Now remember, I told you we weren't duplicating programs at Ross Collins. Culinary is one that they have, okay, and it's a great program. It was always the most in high demand program when I was at Ross Collins, and we didn't have that many slots to be able to put county students. I think we have the most this year that we've ever had in culinary. I think we have about 11 in there this year, which means what happened is the enrollment from Meridian High School went down, so we were able to push more slots for our county students in there. So why are we putting that one in? Well, there's multiple reasons. We have 130 students in our district that want to take it. We have industry says that they need it. But also, we're going to have a full-fledged cafeteria, not cafeteria, but a kitchen. In case we do ever need to serve lunch in the future, we will have the capability to be able to do that. And I mention that because there are students, and y'all know them. When I mention this student, you're going to run that student in your head. Relatively bright student that's walking around our schools that are bored. They're bored to death because they can't find relevance in what they're learning in their education, and they end up sometimes dropping out of school because they're bored to death. What if we get them in here and we challenge them? What if we keep them another block or two of the day? And we push them even further into that post-secondary training or that getting those credentials on the next level. I'm just throwing that out there so you understand why we're actually putting in a duplicated program from Ross Collins. Educator preparation. This is one we're moving from Northeast High School to the center. And it's going to be preparing teachers. We know there's a teacher shortage in the state of Mississippi, and we have it here locally as well. Data shows that if we can home grow our own teachers, they're more liable to stay here and have viable, successful lives here. So that's a very important program for us to be able to train teachers to come back and teach in this area. Energy Lab. Energy is a program in which they will learn power generation. They will experiment with linemen, and Meridian Community College has a great lineman program. We're going to be leading students into that pathway and taking some of their dual credit back down to our level so that when they leave high school, they'll have some of that program already under their belt. Y'all, alternative energies are here. Face it, you know it. Electric cars are coming. I know that's a little controversial to talk about, but remember that we're preparing students for the next generation. Those alternative energies are here. They're coming. We just have to be prepared for it in the future. And I'm not saying it's all going to be alternative energies. The people who have been in conversation with me about this program have been Mississippi Power. They were actually part of writing the curriculum for this program. A&B Electric has been a big conversation in this project as well. Health service. We've got a great program here in health science at West Lauderdale. We also have great programs at all of our other county schools in health science. We're going to leave that program at all the 4 different schools. What we are going to do, however, is create an environment. Remember I told you they kind of finish up, I may not have told you this, they finish up about their junior year in this health science, and what they do is they kind of sort of, they lose their focus their senior year, okay? So we're going to create this health clinic. It's going to be a live working health clinic, talking to local hospitals about this, that students will come their senior year and work-based learning in this clinic. They will also have access to CNA, medical assisting, as well as EMT training on the post-secondary level to go ahead and get their feet focused in that direction. Last but not least, law and public safety. We're going to be moving the law and public safety from southeast to the center. Mr. Kenny Watson is the teacher there, and by the way, he was the Mississippi Rural Teacher of the Year last year. Great and wonderful teacher. His background is in firefighting, and just a super guy. He's going to be teaching law and public safety with an emphasis on firefighting. Odie, can I get an amen on that? We need it, don't we? Ross Collins has a law and public safety class, but they're going to be focusing on the law enforcement side. So if we have a student that wants to be a police officer, they go to Ross Collins. If they want to go into fire management, they go to our center. Okay? Now, y'all, that's 14 months of planning condensed down into about 20 to 30 minutes. There's so much more I could tell you about work-based learning, about the connection with our post-secondary institutions. There's so much more. There's a big grant potentially coming out that we're submitting tomorrow, hopefully, that's going to help pay for a lot of salaries in work-based learning for our students over the next couple of years. So keep your fingers crossed on that one. I can't announce it yet because it's just being submitted, but we have a very good chance that that is going to happen. So I'm kind of letting the cat out of the bag a little bit on that one, but that's going to be great and beneficial for our students in the future. Okay. Dr. King, do we want to open it up for questions now? Okay. All right. Do you have questions? I'll be answering more of the questions about the programming side of it and probably more of the logistical things of the election and all. Dr. Kane will be coming up and answering those. Yes, to that microphone.
All right. One thing that I was trying to clarify, what do we need to bring with us October 3rd? Like, do we just bring our driver's license to vote? Is that all we need to bring?
To my knowledge, that's all our government form of ID.
Okay. My next question is more yes or no questions. Did the State Election Commission tour all campuses?
Yes.
They did? Did they express any concern for the safety of our children during being at school during the voting session?
Our attorney toured the election commission. So our attorney toured the election commission, so I did not have firsthand conversation with the election commission.
So the election commission never voiced concerns directly to you or the Board of Education about safety?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Ma'am? They did? Did they ask you specifically to make it a virtual learning day?
When we say they, who are we talking about now?
The election commission, the lawyer, did anybody approach you about a virtual learning day?
Did someone approach me about a virtual?
Did any of these people approach you about making it a virtual learning day to keep our students off campus?
No.
Nobody has?
No, wait a minute. I didn't say nobody. You asked me, did the election commission ask me that?
Okay, who asked you about making it a virtual learning day?
Are we in yes or no questions, or are we going into?
We're going into direct questions.
Okay.
Who has asked you to make it a virtual learning day?
One of the financiers of the opposition group to the bond has mentioned that in public several times.
Okay, so you chose to ignore that suggestion?
No, ma'am, we didn't ignore it.
Well, you did, because we're not having a virtual learning day. Our children are going to be on campus with it being open to thousands of people being on campus.
Yeah, the virtual learning day was considered. It was discussed at the last meeting when it was brought up by question. We have to look at a lot of things when we discuss a virtual learning day. We did not do a virtual learning day. That was not the path that we chose. We worked, as far as safety concerns, we worked with Lauderdale County Sheriff's Office and discussed about the safety protocols that we're going to have in place, additional safety protocols that we ourselves will have in place. And I think I even heard Sheriff Solid this morning say he didn't feel any additional safety concerns this day versus any other.
So the Sheriff's Office voiced no additional concerns for safety of our children that particular day?
There are protocols in place with the Sheriff's Office.
But are they concerned about protests or anything going on that particular day?
As I said, I heard Mr. Sheriff Solid this morning say that he didn't have any additional fear of safety this day versus any other.
Okay. with as many surveys as the district has put out in the past, why haven't we done a survey prior to this day, prior to the election, asking how we feel about our children being exposed to visitors being on campus and it being open door policy? Why were we not considered or asked our opinions?
We have visitors come to our campuses all the time.
But they're buzzed in.
So we just had Grandparents' Day. We had athletic events. We have football games. We have open house nights. We have parents come to our campuses all the time.
If you don't know the law, that's why. Okay, so I would have liked for my opinion to be voiced. I know our campus is set up, I think it's one of a kind, correct me if I'm wrong, with it being all in one building. Once you were let into the main building, you were in our whole entire school. This is it. Once you get in the lobby, and that's where this voting is taking place, correct? Is in the lobby?
Yes, ma'am.
So how many officers are going to be at my children's school particularly to block off every single access? Because once everybody is let into that lobby, it's a free-for-all. Who's to say that these visitors are not going to go wander down to my children's hallway? It was an unnecessary risk. It was an unnecessary risk. We could have had it anywhere else other than our children's schools. Also, thank you. It was unnecessary. I would also like clarification on what funds were used to purchase the PV building. Where did they come from exactly?
$3 million debt note.
It was what?
$3 million debt note.
Okay. Is that funds readily available anytime, would you say?
When there's funds available.
So there are funds available though, correct?
They're appropriated, yes.
Okay, so if those funds were available to purchase the PV building, Clarkdale has nothing to do with me. My children don't go to Clarkdale, but why weren't those funds used to help the kids at Clarkdale? Or the kids at Northeast that are having to use the tables to walk whenever it's flooding outside and the hallways are flooded and they can't walk over it. They're having to walk over tables. Why aren't those funds used to fix our current infrastructures that we already have, that we should have already been taken care of? I feel like we should use our money to take care of what we already have before we bite off a bigger thing that are we going to be able to afford to keep it up?
Back to your first question. The $3 million note is exactly what it's used for. It was sought after to make the campus improvements. That's the additional debt service millage that you see that was advertised.
So is it going to be used for Clarkdale?
It's used on all campuses.
But it hasn't been used for Clarkdale. Is there mold in Clarkdale right now?
There's been mold identified at Clarkdale, yes,
and
ma'am.
Parents weren't notified of that either, right?
They were notified of it.
How were they notified and when from the report?
We discussed it openly last night in Clarkdale.
But last night, or night before last, it was
Right.
night before last,
Right.
y'all discussed
Right.
it. But when was the mold report reported? When did you receive that on your desk?
Once the mold report was brought to our attention, we started a mitigation process. Those students were removed from that classroom, and we brought in outside testers to test, which is above and beyond what is required. We brought in those testers, that's right, brought in those testers to come in, and then we brought in a third-party mitigation team to come in and continue to mitigate that classroom. We then brought back those third-party testers to come back and test again. Still wasn't to the level that we wanted it to be at, even though there is no set requirement or level that is in statute or law. However, we still were not going to put our kids back in there with the levels until we were comfortable with it. So we brought in dehumidifiers and air filtration systems, and the third party is coming back to test again Monday, but those students have not been returned to that classroom once it was brought to our attention and the mitigation started.
Okay, so back to my question. When were the parents notified, though?
On
Were they
Facebook or?
Period. When were they notified?
It was a public comment night before last at Clarkdale. You got it.
So it just now come out.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
That goes back to communication.
Right.
Y'all's communication. If you want us to support you and back you on something, you've got to communicate better. Our vote should absolutely matter. Our voices absolutely should matter. And I know I, as well as many other parents, are not comfortable with thousands of people being on our kids' campuses just being a free-for-all. And I don't think that you, as a parent, would want pedophiles being allowed on your child's campus. Y'all open the doors for all kinds of crazy people, pedophiles, the list goes on, and you can't stop them at the door. How can you protect my child Tuesday?
Man, we protect your child every day.
But it's not a guaranteed 100%, and I understand that, not every day, but this was an unnecessary risk. This was unnecessary. You did not have to make this the voting precinct. You chose to do that. And I don't appreciate it. I feel like my child's safety doesn't matter more than your money. One last question. If the bond does not pass, are you legally bound to finish this project since you're using the money from it to hold this special election? Are y'all legally bound to finish it?
Legally bound? No,
Yes, are y'all legally bound?
no, ma'am.
Okay.
So we're not legally bound to finish that project, but remember, we have a building. We have programs already in our district.
That will come out of your pocket, not ours.
Yeah, I'm a taxpayer. It will come out of my pocket too. So what we will do is we'll just have to move along at a much slower pace. You know, what you see here, we'll have to cut it down to about 25%. We'll have to move programs slowly over time. And you just have to ask yourself the question, you know, when you're thinking about this project, can we afford in our community with our workforce? And I didn't share some of those statistics with you because that's pretty alarming too. Can we afford to let this workforce training be pushed down the road? But anyway, that finishes that question off, because remember, we do have a building. We've got $6.5 million left in the bank. That's after the deconstruction of the building, and all the permits and everything are ready to go. Okay?
I'd like to start off by telling everybody a little bit about myself. I've been in the construction industry for 15 years. So,
Yeah.
Anyway, you go. I don't know what the. Go ahead and talk. Come on.
check.
Go ahead.
I've been in the construction industry for 15 years, so I'm somewhat of a subject matter expert. Started out as a carpenter's helper, decided I wanted to try junior college. Didn't like that, so I decided I want to be an electrician. Went to work for a company. They put me through an apprenticeship program. I worked my way up from an apprentice. I'm now a superintendent for that company. Went through the NCCER training program. I'm an instructor, certified instructor for the NCCER. I'd like to talk, and also bid jobs, so I'd like to talk a little bit about this building. Scuba is building a building similar to this, same type of thing. It's 28,000 square feet. They're estimating it costs $6 million. And we'll do a little quick math. We'll round that up to 30,000 square feet. We'll call it $6 million. This is twice that size. So general math again, that's 12 million. Well, I'm going to tell you why this building cost more than that. It's because nothing in this building was designed to be used for the purpose that they're using it. That means that floors in the drains for the kitchen for the culinary school, toilets, all of that stuff, the floor, the slab is going to have to be saw cut out, chipped up, all this piping put in, and then concrete put back down. My point is that I feel like money was wasted on this building when we could have just built from the ground up and got away for $12 million or so. We already had 8, didn't cost the taxpayers a dime. Now they're asking for 12. I don't know about y'all, but I'm about, taxed to death. So my first question is, I'd like to know, I didn't hear anything about electrical in particular, but I did hear welding. I heard culinary. Who are going to teach these classes?
These classes will be taught from individuals from industry. Energy is going to have a degree of the electrical in it, and by the way, it's also NCCR certified, as well as the construction engineering program will have that same certification along with it.
Okay, so electrical. Do we have any idea, just like, what type of salary are we talking about for these people they're teaching these classes?
Of course, it depends on the years of experience. Our district honors years of experience when they come from industry. To be able to attract and retain good quality teachers, we have to be competitive in the salary. So we do honor years of experience in the industry.
Okay, so I didn't mention that I drive an hour and 20 minutes to work every day. I work at GP Nayola Mill, outside of the state of Mississippi, outside of Lauderdale County. That's a huge problem. That man said we had a problem, we didn't have the money, and I think that is absolutely part of the reason why we don't have money is because we don't have industry in Lauderdale County, inside of Mississippi, and to get these professionals, actual professionals, and I'm not running anybody down, but I'm not talking about just a shop teacher, which is, probably a jack of all trades. But then, and that's fine. I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to run anybody down, but to get a master of a trade like welding or electrical, it's going to cost. Our electricians in my industry are 6-figure people. And Dr. Kane at Clarkdale the other night said that we're already operating at a deficit. Where does that money come from to pay these 6-figure people to train our children?
So CTE salaries are a little bit different than regular teacher salaries. Half of their salary is reimbursed from the state of Mississippi. So that also gives us the ability to be a little more competitive in that salary as well. The other half comes from MAEP funding. That's the formula that we receive for. So basically, when you think about a CTE teacher, we're getting 2 teachers for the price of 1. Most of these teachers we already have in our district. A lot of the programs that we're moving here, the ones we're going to have to be finding teachers for would be advanced manufacturing, aviation. Like I said, construction is supposed to come from a teacher from Meridian Community College. Energy is another one we'll have to find. And by the way, when we close programs across the district, we're moving those teacher units to those particular programs, so we're not going to be out any extra salary as a result of building this building. My salary as a CTE administrator is 100% reimbursed from the state. If I get an assistant director, that salary is reimbursed from the state. Counselors, and that's a question that has come up, that's going to be a little extra expense. Their salaries are 100% reimbursed from the state. That's right. That's right. It's still taxes. I do agree. No doubt about that. But it's not as much of a burden on the local area as it is, in some ways. So I'm just answering your question.
Okay. Thank you.
Did that answer it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I got one more thing. It's more of a statement than a question. The other night, Dr. Kane at Clarkdale made mention of, if you take a home worth $100,000, it was like $35 a year. Is that correct?
Yeah, you want to address it?
I believe so. I think it's 0131.5 is the estimate.
Okay, well, the problem with that is the average home, at least in West Lauderdale School District, is not $100,000. It's more like probably $250,000 to $300,000. And in the next 20 years that you said was going to take to pay this, that same home is going to be $500,000. That's it. Thank you.
Good evening, all. My name is Deborah Massey. I am a Lauderdale County School District employee. I am not one at this school. However, I'm a parent. I am a fellow alumni of this school. I have 4 teenage boys currently at West Lauderdale High School, 2 of which currently utilize Ross Collins Career and Technical Center. One is in his 2nd year in carpentry. One is in his 1st year in engineering. I am also a former CTE health science teacher at Ross Collins. I taught there. I saw the benefits of it. I believe in CTE. I've had many phone conversations with several that are in this room. I've had many phone conversations with several that are not here. I was not raised with a silver spoon in my mouth. I was raised by hardworking parents that did not, at that time when they created a family, did not have any college under their belt. I believe we've had advancements in technology. I believe we need to meet those advancements head on. I believe we need a different outlook on career and tech. When I was in high school here, VOTech was not really pushed. It's still not. My kids would have not had the opportunity to attend Ross Collins because we have focused and pushed our kids on academic success only for so many years that we have lost the basic skills and trade that is the backbone of this country. This generation is not cut from the same cloth that I was cut from. It's not cut from the same cloth. We were not even cut from the same cloth the generations before us. They had the basic skills. We have taken those skills away in some way, and we have to get them back because that is where we are in a gap. I'm not saying that all kids need that. There are some that still work on farms. There are still some that get those basic skills. But there are more that fall through the cracks. I've seen that. I've seen that as those kids walk down from Ross Collins from Meridian High to Ross Collins with a purpose, their whole demeanor changes. When they are passionate about something, they put everything into it, and we need that. We need to close the gap. We need to actually support CTE. But here's the kicker. Most of the people I have spoken to, my hour conversations, my 2.5-hour conversations, they support CTE. They know we need it. They say it's past time. But with that said, we need to focus on CTE, and we have to support the people that are trying to get us there. The people that are not public speakers, such as Dr. Kane and Mr. Smith, they are not public speakers. You are asking of them to be experts in fields that they're not experts in. They have advisory committees. They go to people with things. They are advised on these things. And then you hold them to a little word of organic and harp on that. Harp on one word choice. Now, as a nurse, I do what the doctor tells me to do. That is my advisory committee. I go down, I do that. But that's not even what we're here for. Now, I I do feel there are needs in the community where we're lacking. I know that communication is not clear, has not been clear. I support that. I think that there were different ways that we could have gone about it because it has been in the process for, y'all said 18 months, is that correct? But when you're passionate about something and you get this opportunity to go and you're so excited about something, have you ever missed kind of informing a little bit? And I'm not saying that there shouldn't be held accountable. I'm not saying there shouldn't be more transparency, more community meetings. I believe in that. But we do not need to think about holding this center. What's the word I'm looking? I'm trying to think of the word I'm looking for here. Hostage. That's a great. We don't need to be holding this center hostage because we don't like the way that it was going about. So that which brings me to my yes or no questions, Dr. Kane and Dr. Smith, if you don't mind. When it comes to the bond election process, Mississippi Code 3759 1 through 45, it covers the general obligation of the bonds and processes. It's not limited to, but is for purpose, debt limits, conduct, limitations, open meeting requirements. So I'd like to ask y'all some simple yes or no questions right now. Does Lauderdale County School District or this bond exceed 15% of the assessed value of the taxable property within this school district?
No.
Was a resolution of intent approved by the board on the maximum amount of bonds the board intends to finance for this specific project?
Yes.
Did the board adopt a resolution calling a special election?
Yes.
Is the County Election Commission conducting the election?
Yes.
Is the bond election required to conduct itself in the same manner and principles as other city or county elections?
To the best of my knowledge, yes. Sounds like a lot of legal stuff.
Okay.
I would say yes.
Okay. Did the district publish a notice at least 3 consecutive weeks before the election in the newspaper within the district or in the media having general circulation of the whole school district?
Yes.
Is it also your understanding, by putting the bond with the wording, a new career and technical education center, that this should explain to people that this money is going to CTE only including, but not limited to, construction costs of the new CTE center, equipments and furnishings and rehabbing existing vacated CTE rooms to, per se, put them back the way they were prior to being used for CTE, and that the district is going to use bond proceeds only for the purpose of CTE?
Yes.
Did the board meeting where the school board authorized debt comply with the Mississippi open meeting law?
Yes.
Now, to you. He has answered every single question that meets the Mississippi Code. The way they have enacted is legal, although it might not be to your liking. There's many things that are not to my liking that still get done, but I know the overall purpose is for the better of our kids, our generations. Do I think that the community and taxpayers could have been educated, inspired, motivated, informed more during the planning process before making the purchases? I do. I've heard my peers, I've heard y'all, I've had many conversations. As a parent, I too also want very pertinent information. I think we deserve that. And in the future, I hope that the school district moves forward with more community meetings to meet the needs of our parents. I don't know what the solution to that is, but I don't think at this time on this particular subject, that's where we need to bring it. We need to focus on the issue at hand. I understand that there are needs that need to be met at other schools. I was not, as a parent, aware of that going on at other schools. I work in the district, and I still didn't know. In a different district than what I'm standing in right now. So that's 2 of 4 I didn't know. I found out. And I think that we all agree that there needs to be more transparency. But as we've seen, this one is a little bit, this is open to interpretation. I'm off my yes or no right now. We've seen with natural disasters, we know that you have no control over that. In the various school, things have happened, small fires, flooding in gyms, natural wear and tear. The way the bond is written, it states that maximum principal amount of $12.5 million. When referencing to this amount, does this mean that it is the maximum amount that is overall for our district for the life of the bond? Will we be tapped out? To put simply, I'm asking if natural disasters, incidents, improvements are needed in the next 15 to 20 years over the life of this bond, is our district maxed out, or do we still have resources and fundings to utilize that won't cost us extra money? Because many that I've talked to are fearful of putting all of our eggs in one basket. Because in 20 years, these buildings that are, I think Clarkdale said 70s, I'm not real sure, but that's what I heard in one of those. Probably some older than that. In 20 years, those are going to be even more so hurting than they are now.
True. So you're at a 55 mil cap right now on the regular operating budget millage. There's an additional 3 mils on the debt service side, which brings you up to 58 mils, which is the cap per state statute on the millage side, or on the request ad valorem request side, millage side. You'd have an operating budget that under state statute you have to maintain at least 7% on hand. That's state statute. In addition to that, you have 16 section interest monies that can be spent on campus improvements, purchasing buses. There's a lot of flexibility in those monies. There's also 16 section principal money. That money can be borrowed against, but must be paid back at a 4% interest rate back to the district. So anything that's taken out of 16 section principal money has to be paid back. It's a weird setup, but you essentially charge yourself interest at 4% to use those monies. And then I mentioned the 3 mil cap on the debt side that we have. Those are projects that are being funded that we see all over the county, from the pavement to roofs to the ball fields. There's a lot of things that money's helping cover. That goes down as those are different rates or lengths of terms on those monies in that 3 millage note on the bond side. So those wear off, and that gives you more flexibility to go back if you need it through the 3 mil note side on the 3 mil debt service side. And then you still have your opportunities to pursue any grants or any private money like that. So to wrap up and kind of consume that a little bit more digestible is, are we capped on the 55 and the current 3? Yes. On the bond capability? No. The law says you have up to a 15% bond capacity. We're at we're requesting up to 12.5 million on this. The last number I saw gave us a bonding capacity of 51 million.
Thank you. I also found, through my research, I found that the Mississippi Record of School Bond Elections found a list from 1975 to 2021. Through that, I found that there's only been 2 bonds issued since 1975. The records show that one in 1986 to 87 school year and one in 1990 to 91 school year. So we have not accessed a bond. I know that there's other ways to find, but we have not accessed a bond as a school district since 1990 to 91. Is that correct from your understanding?
It is, to my understanding. I believe that was the Northeast Middle School bond in 1991. I believe we're standing in a building that was also funded in 1991. Also, the elementary gymnasium at Southeast Elementary. And I'd have to double check about the Clarkdale one. I'm not sure if the elementary gym's funded there on that one or not.
Okay, thank you. Now, thank you for the opportunity that I requested in the meeting that I got to see the estimated program cost for each dedicated program. But in that, in the money that you've allocated in your planning process, you explained to me that there is a reason why you have not been able to provide a line-by-line expense report to the public. After you explained that to me, when I requested that to put out to everyone that had asked me for it, but I do feel that the community needs to know why you are unable to put that out to the public.
Yeah. So the estimates that we have, and then I'll come back to that, but we're looking at 12 to 13 million on construction, 4 to 5 million on the machinery needed to furnish the building, and then 1 to 2 million was for some additional, the parking lot, the fencing on the exterior, and to rehab these classrooms at the high schools that we pull these programs to the center. On looking at the itemized program number, we have thrown around in public the culinary number because it is known as the most expensive number, anywhere from the 1.2 to 1.5 or more or less. It is an estimate. The issue about us putting out an itemized list of program and program expenses is that the fact that each one of those have to be bid out based on state procurement law. It would be unfavorable to the possible price that we were able to get. It would also jeopardize having bids that would not be inflated by a vendor who may try to bid on it if they saw what our estimated price was, tight price estimate on those programs. So that's why we say 12 to 13 for the construction, 4 to 5 for the programs and the furnishing and the machinery in the programs. That was the advice that we got, and it makes sense. If we put out there what we expect to spend on a particular program, and we have to put that out for bids to be submitted, then I don't think we're going to get our best price on those bids for the taxpayer.
How many bids do you have to get, if you don't mind me asking?
We put that out. We put it out based on state statute. It has to run for, to double check, I think 14 to 15 days. We have to put that out. There is no minimal amount and there is no maximum amount. But usually you want to see at least 3 bidders on something to make sure you get a low, a medium, and a high. And then you have to discern between lowest and best.
Okay. All right, Mr. Smith, you mentioned that all programs would meet the Perkins 5 standards. You mentioned that RCU was finishing up the curriculum for the new aviation program. I was able to find all potential program curriculum standards, industry standards, 21st century and college and career ready standards, course outlines, detailed general supplies, program specific equipment needs recommended, program classroom, how to set up their labs, career and college pathways for each program, and a lot more information, but for time's sake I will, but 2 of the proposed. Now, After reviewing all these programs that are all accessible information to everyone on here, I feel like you missed your mark the other night talking on the Perkins 5. You mentioned RCU, but I think I saw the lady here that asked the questions, but I'm not sure. But I did find one of the curriculums. This right here is just one semester of information. You're not pulling these programs out of thin air. You're not pulling these specifications out of thin air. It is all here, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So, with that said, did y'all use this in planning the budget? I mean, the planning budget, is this what you used for the equipment and the construction costs and things for each individual program?
Yes, those, of course, are perfectly, open to the public at rcu.mssstate.edu. We use those. There's a guideline in there that shows you every hand tool, every screwdriver, every screw that's supposed to be in that, both capitalized equipment as well as non-capitalized equipment. So we use those guidelines to get as specific as possible to the price that those programs were going to cost.
Okay. Also, it was brought to me by someone that Mississippi representatives have been pushing for school choice vouchers, giving the parents the right to choose how and where their children are educated. It's been pushed in different other places. So that means that the money follows the students. Right now, when I ask you, I was told that we didn't have the numbers for the most recent school year, but in 2022, it cost Lauderdale County School District $10,200 per student in our district. Many worry that the funds for the students will be taken to private school institutions, since local tuition for our local private schools are lower right now than that price. I personally know, because I do work in a school district, I know that the services that are provided and required by public school system are not the same in private school, and we teach individualized learning and opportunity resources for each individual child, and at private school they are not required to do that. But is the district concerned that money will be taken away from us in our district? And I mean, if we're building this program, that's concerning. So are we concerned of having a financial impact on our district or funding for our school district?
So, kind of jump back a little bit. The 10,200 number is a number that is compiled of MAEP money, federal monies. So that's an all-inclusive number. These are monies that help serve our special needs students.
Yes.
All of those services that you talk about, dyslexia that we provide. There's a lot of monies that that 10.2 number is calculated on. The state number, the last I checked, was somewhere around $6,000 on the MAP side on a per student basis on the allocation per student. I think in everything, parents are the ultimate deciders of what they want for their children. If the law passes in Mississippi, as you mentioned, there's been talks of it for a decade now. There's many more states around the country that have gone to that. But I also say that they haven't made the strides that Mississippi's made over the last few years either. And I'm happy to report, our district today named an A school district. This school named an A school district, A school. We have 9 A schools in our district, and obviously we've got work to do, but we're proud of that. But you see a growth of public education outcomes in the state in Mississippi, and we have a legislature that is. I think overall they understand Mississippi values and they try to safeguard those values in a lot of policy and decisions. What I will say about the decision for a parent to choose if these monies do once follow or in the future follow a student, I think it's all the more of why we have to be better. I think it's why we have to provide more. It's why we have to be the school that, or the district that people look to say, a young family says, I want to go there for an opportunity like this for our students. It's a consumer-driven business. And what that means is if we can provide what parents want, if we can provide the needs of the community, if we can provide experiences with the arts, with the athletics, with the academics, that people want to come here, and with career and technical education, then we look to attract families that want to come here. We want to continue to pull students and increase enrollment as people from wherever see this and they say, I have an opportunity for my child to explore one of these career pathways. I've got an opportunity for my child to attain an associate's degree or 20 hours toward a college degree. So you can't belittle your opponent, or choice. You have to build yourself to be better and be the choice that people want to come.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir.
Mentioned career pathways, and I don't know that I made this clear earlier. In our cooperation with Ross Collins and what we're doing, Mississippi has 13 career pathways that they've listed as viable jobs in Mississippi. With the cooperation of Ross Collins and us, we'll be able to provide students access to all of those 13 career pathways. That's pretty amazing if you think about it. There's no other county in the state of Mississippi that can say they have a program for all 13 career pathways.
Absolutely. I want to kind of hit on the scuba thing. So I'm kind of getting off here, but you just gave me a number of 12 to 13 million for the construction, correct? For a $60,000 building. The fellow that just stepped down told us that's what construction would cost. Isn't that right? Because
$6 million for the
$6 million for a 28,000.
Right.
Okay, well, the scuba project is just that. It is a shell. They have the existing programs that they're planning on moving. They have the equipment that they're planning on. They already have the programs in Hawkins Hall at Scuba. They're planning on moving all of their equipment from Hawkins Hall to a shell of a building. So really, we are in comparison. So the building, in my eyes, was a win. From the data.
It's hard to compare those two buildings because 30,000 square feet versus 60,000 square feet. And our price includes equipment, turnkey, everything, intercom system, the whole works.
But not for that's, you're combining all the numbers that y'all just gave out. Okay. Yeah. So what we're proposing here is a turnkey operation. What the money that you're asking us for, us as taxpayers, is a turnkey operation. It's not a shell of a building that
is creating a workforce that will help them. Like you mentioned, advisory committees. Each one of our programs have advisory committee members that help steer the programming of our programs. And what they do is give us advice on what's needed in industry locally. Yes, I mean, we're hoping to create and supply a much bigger workforce. If we're patting their pockets in any way, we're providing a workforce that will give them the capability to move forward in the future and be productive industries here. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. And do you think that if, I hate to use the term, if we build it, they will come, if we build these skilled workers, do you think that will generate more industry looking to come to us if they know that we're creating more skilled workers?
I can definitively say yes on that.
Okay.
And the reason I can say yes on that is because I have witnessed it in the Golden Triangle area. So what we have in this area, and I didn't share this data with you, we've got too many folks walking around in low skill. We've got twice the number of low skill workers as we do middle skill. And middle skill is where we need to be moving our workforce to. Industry is not going to land here if we have too many folks in that low skill category.
Okay. So I think I'm almost done. Let me make sure. The misconception of Ross Collins No, sir. I'm not paid well. I'm not. I can guarantee you that this is me. This. So you're coming at me telling me that I'm a paid representative, is that? Okay, well, I can stand here and say that you can go back on my social media. I've advocated for CTE since 2014. Since I started, I can guarantee you, sir, that I am not. What hospital? I actually am a part of East Mississippi State Hospital as a PRN nurse. Yes, sir. Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. At the end of the day, the data is there that this project will be successful. So I know several people, their problem is that we don't like the way it was done. That's what we said. But again, we cannot hold the center hostage on something to help our future children succeed because we just don't agree with the code. The code is state law. That is what was followed. They answered those questions. If you don't support CTE, vote no. If you do support CTE, then give our children an opportunity.
Well, I thought y'all got some softball questions, so I wanted to pick up the pace a little bit.
Just somewhat of an order. This individual right here come up and sat down and was patient.
You were sitting here?
I was sitting back here.
Oh, I had no idea. No, absolutely not. No, thank you, because this is supposed to be an arena where we can respectfully disagree. Like, we're supposed to do that. So no, please, I had no way.
No, it's fine. I will say this, Mr. Smith. I do think this is a good idea. When I saw it, I got really excited about it. However, I saw a lot of things. Well, we have Ross Collins. We have Ross Collins. We do have Ross Collins. And I know a lot of kids when I went to West Lauderdale that did do Ross Collins. I do feel if more information would have been put out, I think more people would have been more open-minded to actually listen, because we get a bond and it's like, this is what this bond is. This is what this money is. This is what we want. I am for bringing trades. When I graduated from West Lauderdale, I had a wonderful assistant principal who said, not every kid is made for college. And she's absolutely right. I hated school. The only reason I did not drop out of school is because I would have had to retake my ASVAB and score a higher score because I had a GED. I'm just being honest. Like, not every kid is made out for school. We need more trades. With that being said, I think home economics also need to be brought back in school. It is sad there are so many people who do not know how to cook. They cannot sew a button on, for God's sake. I mean, there's so many things, like these are building trades, and yes, we can also hopefully bring a lot of businesses that will come in and look and be like, all right, they're trying. They're doing this. My question to about this is, why did y'all not put more information out there? Why were y'all not more open with this?
I don't, we have put a lot out, honestly.
I mean,
you know, I've been nose to the ground, honestly, for 14 months, talking to industry. By the way, I went to Berlin, Germany, and studied career technical education over there, and the gentleman mentioned the apprenticeship program, and that's certainly something I want to see in this model in the future. Honestly, I'm just, my nose was to the wall, you know, planning this for 14 months. Could I have put something out more about it? Possibly. I don't know what avenue or means internally. In our school, we put out a lot of information. I've had these kind of meetings and sessions with teachers and administrators multiple times over, and with the intention of administrators going back and telling teachers and talking to them about it. I've posted stuff on social media, you know, but I agree. More could have been put out.
Not attacking you, I promise I'm not. It's just, I saw the thing about the bond and I heard we have Ross Collins, and I'm like, all right, great, it's a bigger building, it's new, more people get the opportunity to do something with Ross Collins, and then I come here. And then I hear everything that you were wanting to do, and I'm like, I think a lot more people would have been a little bit more open-minded if they heard more of what was being offered.
Sure.
And like I said, it's not an attack of you. I just feel like more information.
And I respect that.
Could have been more.
If an apology is due, I apologize.
I mean,
you know,
when the bond came out in August, I just saw the bond thing.
Right.
When I read it and everybody was like, oh, it's career technical, you know, and they're like, no, vote no on it. And I'm like, well, that's not fair to kids.
Right.
It's not. Now, I will bank off of a lot of other parents when it comes to the safety issue of this. I counted, because I watch the watchdog, there are 288 sex offenders in Lauderdale County. Probably more now, to be honest with you. The last time I looked, there was 288. Now, we are opening up this school. Why not wait? Why could we have not added that when the medicinal marijuana thing was put on the ballot, they waited until November or one of the ballots? Why did we not wait? Why was this such a rush option?
You want to address that?
There was a lot of factors that went into it, consideration that ultimately the board had to decide, but it was a recommendation.
Okay.
Two key points was the January 2025 soft opening date that we're shooting for. The architect in reviewing the plans and looking at the build out time and lead out times on the project basically told us that if we were to wait to the general election, this would not be bid out prior to the end of the 2023 calendar year.
Okay.
That would delay the project at least a semester. That's one part.
Okay.
The second part is looking at what we call bank qualified bond sales. And let me preface this with two things. I'm not an architect and I'm not a banker.
Okay.
And I'm not an attorney. But the information that we were provided was that if you sell the bonds in series, and which means we're up to $12.5 million, if prior to the end of the 2023 calendar year, you're able to sell the bonds less than $10 million, so let's just pick a number. Let's just say we sell $6 million worth of bonds prior to the end of the 2023 calendar. And then we sell the remaining 6.5, if it requires that, in the 2024 calendar year. Those would be bank qualified bonds because they're below the $10 million cap each year. The interest rate on those bonds are lower than if you have to sell all the bonds within one calendar year up to the full 12.5. So if you exceed 10 million, you're going to lose the advantage of the lower interest rate. So the lower interest rate, so then we try to, okay, what's the number of the lowest interest rate? Well, we don't know the exact interest rate, and we don't know what the Fed's going to do and what's going to impact interest rates. But the savings, according to the bond attorney, would be, a conservative estimate was $200,000 over the span of the bonds. Okay. And so then it goes back to the the election. There's talk about, well, if you waited, you wouldn't be spending this money on an election cost. From early on, we tried to ascertain what the election would actually cost us. We were not able to get that information completely. Still don't have an absolute number as of yet. But the estimate that we were able to get was around $40,000. So the bond sale interest savings at a conservative $200,000, the estimate of the $40,000 election is a cost savings to the taxpayer.
Okay. Now, I'm going to go back to the safety thing.
Okay.
And it's not really an attack against Lauderdale County School District. And it's going to make a lot of people mad, and if it does, I'm sorry. My child did kindergarten out here. A gas line busted. They called the school district and asked to close the school because gas was filling the school. They were told no, to keep them here. I snatched my kid out of West Lauderdale because my kid's safety doesn't matter. So I'm going to go on to a little bit more. I had a friend who worked with the special needs kids at Northeast Elementary. There was a teacher there that would spray Lysol in the face of special needs kids. They could have had lung problems. They could have had asthma. That could have really did it. Her teacher and her son walked into that classroom. The teacher walked up to him in front of his mother, took a can of Lysol, sprayed it in his face. They reported that teacher. They wrote that teacher up. Now, the principal of that school swept it under the rug. We have 8,000 people coming on all these different campuses. I'm sorry, I do not feel safe with this. Like I said, I pulled my kid from West Lauderdale because I don't feel like this school cares about my kid's safety. Because when they tried to close the school for the gas leak, they were told to keep it open. I came to pick my kid up, I could smell gas everywhere. One spark from the work that they were doing at the time here, this whole school could have went up. All these kids would have been seriously hurt. So the safety issue is a big thing, but also the biggest thing is, not talking about this, but there are other schools that have had safety issues with kids. That same teacher that sprayed special needs kids in the face with Lysol, a special needs kid had an accident. It was in the middle of winter, 30 degrees, and she was caught on camera locking that kid outside the classroom, no jacket, wet pants, for an hour. I have a friend whose kid went out there. That kid is terrified of anything that sprays now. Now, I emailed Lauderdale County about it. Nothing was done. The other teachers did a CPS investigation. They reported it. They were reprimanded and told to keep their mouths shut by the principal of Northeast Elementary. Why is parents and teachers standing up for the safety of these kids? Why is it allowed to be shoved under the rug? Why?
Shouldn't be.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but I mean, I emailed on behalf of my friend, and we'll do an investigation. Nothing was happened, but the teacher that was doing everything is like, oh, well, if I get fired, I'm going to sue. So they kept her there, write-up after write-up. Blatant abuse being caught. There's no faith in the safety of these kids, and now we're bringing 8,000 people on all these different campuses to vote for something that we could have found somewhere else to vote. I would have gone down to that office downtown to vote for it. I would have. I also don't think this is the best time. You have people that are actually having to work. They do not have a choice. This is not 1950 anymore. This is not my husband can go to work and I can sit home and I can have supper ready. We can't do that anymore. Those times are gone. It's in the middle of the day. So anybody who wants to vote, whether yay or whether nay, their voices aren't being heard. This isn't fair. It's not fair for anybody who pays taxes out here. I mean, I'm sorry, I want an answer, why?
Well, what was the question?
I want an answer to all of it. Why are we not investigating these teachers when complaints have been made over and over for abuse? Because that makes it look like Lauderdale County does not care about the safety of these kids. So now it has planted doubt in other parents' mind, oh, well, if they're allowing this to happen, are they going to have let's see, I think there's 4 different halls, maybe 5. It's been a while since my kid's been out here. So are they going to take 5 different Lauderdale counties? All right, you stand, deputies, you stand at this hall, you stand at this hall, you stand at this hall, you stand at this hall. Do not let anybody come near you. Don't let them pass you. Are we going to have the manpower to keep these kids safe?
I'm confident in the plan that we have. And working with the sheriff's office, we're going to have additional personnel and eyes. Again, talking and reviewing that with Chief Deputy. Heard the sheriff again today on the radio, said he didn't have any additional fear on this day as he has any other day. So I'm confident in our plan. I think our administrators and our teachers do a tremendous job keeping our kids safe every day. When you've got a personnel issue, obviously a lot of times, you know, we want to come out and say exactly what we do on that. But the law prevents us from doing that because of the personnel issue involved does exist. So although you may not know in detail exactly what happens, there is investigations, there are outcomes, things do happen, but unfortunately we can't just come out and make an entire Facebook post.
And I understand that, but that teacher is still at Northeast Elementary. She is. Once again, my mind goes, okay, they don't care. They don't care. And now we have an election that all these people are going to come in. God knows what they're going to do. People are crazy. People are psycho now. You take people wanting to come up here and actually vote yes or no, and now you're going to have some psycho that's possibly like perfect opportunity. Perfect opportunity for me to go do ill will or harm. I mean, I'm sorry. I do think this is a great idea. Me personally, I want to vote yes for it because I do think it's a great idea. But I think this district has went about it the entirely wrong way. Like I said, if you would have said, come down here to the main office, we can have the vote here, no problem. You have so many parents mad because it's a safety issue of their kids. And if they're not dealing with teachers bullying students, or if they're not dealing with other kids bullying their kids or harming them, and I mean, it's already not safe at school as it is. And now this. I mean, we got to do something better. We have to. And like I said, I'm not trying to come at you in a bad way. I'm not trying to attack you, but I don't have the highest opinion of you after the whole gas situation when my daughter was here in kindergarten, because you were the superintendent during that time, and the principal said, we have a gas leak, it's filling the hall, we need to send these kids home, and they were told, no, keep them there.
That was actually the teacher cooking Brussels sprouts. That was whenever the school was evacuated because the teacher was cooking Brussels sprouts and they thought it was a gas leak. And actually it was the teacher cooking Brussels sprouts. The school was evacuated again.
Again, a lack of communication.
Because we were all told it was a gas leak. We were not told that it was a teacher cooking.
Yeah, lack of communication again.
We got to get better with this. Communication with the parents and all that, safety of everything, we have to. Like I said, I'm not trying to come at you in any way. I'm really not, but.
I appreciate your comments. I think it's always a point of discernment about how much do you want to be inundated with on a daily basis. I mean, it really is, because schools deal with so much. There are so many things that one person or one small group may say, I can't believe they didn't tell me that. And then you got another group that says, why are they wasting my time with these call outs or these warnings? The level of concern for some is not the level of concern for all. And so there is a time where you have to say, okay, is the disruption to the environment, to these parents that are at jobs or wherever they may be during the course of the day, you have to discern, because there's 1,000 things that do happen during the course of a school day, and you have to decide: is the disruption, does it meet that level of needing to do a blast to put that out there? And it's always a decision about where that where that level is.
And I get that, but after working in the medical field, there's a huge thing, and anybody that works in the medical field will tell you, it is one saying that everybody has: cover your ass. That's the exact thing. It doesn't matter. If you think it's not important to put it out, it doesn't matter. If you put it out, they cannot come back and go, I didn't know. That wasn't said. I mean, whether some people think it's important, whether some people think it's not important, a safety issue, no matter what happens, Lauderdale County needs to literally have the cover your ass situation and do it. I mean, y'all need to.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. First off, I want to say that I don't have any ill will towards anybody that maybe doesn't like the words that I use or the things that I've had to say. I'm just going to be transparent with you. I don't even have kids. I don't. But I have a brother and I have cousins that have children, okay? And I have seen on Instagram and Facebook parents at school board meetings, and they're like, what's this book doing in our library? And they are shut down. As a matter of fact, we've weaponized federal agencies against those parents. That is why I started looking into this, because even though I don't have kids, there are kids in my youth group. I care about those. And I think that there's something much bigger at play. You know, the taxes, yeah, we are in a time of economic uncertainty. We are. When I go to the grocery store, I'm one person. And I'm like, I cannot believe groceries cost this much. So yeah, on face value, I was a little bit concerned about my own money, because it's like, I don't know what the future holds. I don't. I mean, they're wanting to they're wanting to tax unrealized capital gains. Like, this is a whole nother world we're living in. And so, you know, the taxes aside, my mom was an educator. She was in special ed. And I had to listen to her testimony about administration not advocating for kids at times. And it's disheartening, just like the lady that just spoke. I believe those things happen. I believe that there is a reason why people want to sweep things under the table, because it gets difficult to have those conversations. But we need to stop protecting adults. We have to. Because everything that we've seen going on in the world tells us that there are people that will use children, okay, to their own advantage. And it's got to stop. It has to.
What has this got to do with the bond?
Sorry, I'm a little long-winded. But I promise you I will get there. Yes, sir, I promise.
From what I'm hearing, the last two people have talked about stuff that should have been brought up to the school board.
Well, yes, sir, I understand, and I'll try to be better about staying on topic. I apologize for that. So when my mom started telling me about this, and there was a lot of things not making sense, of course, the early voting, we found out about it a month ago, you know, and the plan, I started getting on the Lauderdale County School District's website and just consuming and digesting everything that was on there, so I could go to the first meeting with some questions for you. And, you know, I had questions and concerns mainly because we do need trades. CTE is important. It is very important. Most of my family has been blue-collar workers. I was able to go to college because of blue-collar workers in my family and my grandfather being in the military and being dirt poor, okay, and funding us to go through college. So I believe in it. I do. But when I started wondering what is the tangible asset with which they will walk away from this, because we all know that bureaucrats love to put on us a lot of stuff that costs a lot of money and we get very little out of it. Very little. So that's why I wanted to know, what tangible thing are they going to be able to walk away with? The one Kubota certification, I heard that was one tangible thing, but that is a $30,000 a year job. And when I heard you on Scotty Ray's show, you were talking about $50,000 a year jobs, so I expected to hear that kind of certification. I did not, okay? So then, after the meeting, Rob gave me this packet, and so I started digesting all of the information in this. And Accelerate Mississippi Symposium 2023. I thought, let's look at that. What's Accelerate Mississippi? Never heard about it before. So I start looking through it, and I'm like, wow, this kind of looks like workforce development, but the CTE is a very small portion of everything that they want to do, okay? And this is a non-government agency, okay? This has been set up, the Workforce Innovation Opportunities Act. This non-government agency is going to be the pass-through organization to facilitate workforce investment, okay, across the state of Mississippi, a non-government agency. And so when I started looking at that, all the graphs, all the statistics about the diplomas, everything, it's all funneling back to this one source, right? So I started looking through that document, and you know, I don't believe in taking anybody's word for anything. My grandfather always said, trust but verify. So that's how I've approached this. So if you don't believe me, go to acceleratemississippi.org. And if you scroll, I don't know if anybody's actually going to get their phone and do this, but I'm going to do it so that I can walk you through what I was looking at. Okay, so the overview of their combined plan, right, because WIOA, as it's called, is a federal initiative in which the state of Mississippi has to submit a plan for. It has to be in compliance with federal regulations, okay? And when you scroll, sorry. When you, sorry, sir, I'm getting there. I promise. Okay, if you look on page 47, it says, in preparation for the 2022 revision, additional areas in need of improvement were noted. The second bullet says there is a greater need to coordinate between WIOA Combined State Plan and the State Perkins Plan. Like we were discussing earlier, State Perkins, and like Rob has told us, they pay for the teachers at these CTE centers, right? These 3. So you have $75,000, right, for 3. It pays for half their salaries. So the Perkins 5 Act is in a way invested in workforce development, correct? Okay. So when you read that, there's more planning, there's more understanding that needs to be done, right? With how this WIOA plan and Perkins 5 can come together and be combined.
That's all the secondary that you're talking about. Nothing to do with high school. You're post-secondary, that's post-secondary.
Okay, for right now it is, right?
We are meeting this year to combine those 2 projects. It's a federal thing they're asking us to do. They've never asked us to do that before. So on the post-secondary side, the WIOA is post-secondary, and Perkins also, a portion of Perkins is post-secondary. So those 2 things, through Mississippi Accelerate, we've been asked to combine them this year. So we're working on that this year.
Okay, so you are working on combining those 2 plans for post-secondary. Okay, well, CTE is on the Accelerate Mississippi website, along with adult education, reintegrating ex-offenders, and other multiple special groups. Okay, wait a second. You keep saying post-secondary, but this is going to be combined, because I spoke with Billy Adam Calvert's attorney who writes these bills for the House, okay? One, I want to thank Billy Adam Calvert because he has been extremely transparent. He didn't know they were coming to us with a bond. He had no idea. He secured the money, the $8 million for the building, and was under the assumption that they could get it done for $8 million. And they can. Hold on. Ma'am, I have been extremely respectful, but you are not. You are not being respectful. Would you like to come up and give your point of view, and I will sit down, because that's what respect is. You can come, take the mic, I will sit down, you can speak your piece, and then I will respectfully get up after. But I am not going to have a yelling match with you. Okay. Can you, I'm willing to give her the mic. I'm willing to. Okay, well, one piece of information that's correct, that's Rob's wife. So that's a correct piece of information right there.
And I work for a community college. I'm just trying to answer the question at hand, because you were talking as if it was high school, secondary related, and it's post-secondary. So I'm just trying to
Ma'am?
So let me interject, please. Let me interject, because this is our town hall, okay? It's your town hall. Let's get things back on track. Let's talk about the bond, and if you could, please expedite this process, because I think folks in here want to know more about the specifics of the voting and that sort of thing. So can we get back to that, please?
Wow. I mean, my mom said expect this, but I guess I kind of thought everybody'd be respectful adults. I kind of thought a little bit better, but you know, in this day and age. Okay. So what I was concerned about is the fact that all of the graphs, all of the statistics, all of the images match Accelerate Mississippi. So when she is saying that, oh, that's post-secondary, then why are you using it carbon copy? Go ahead and answer me that question. Why is it carbon copy with all your material?
First of all, I kind of regret giving you those notes now.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Now, let me explain those notes. I went to an Accelerate Mississippi Symposium, and those are actually my handwritten notes that when I got back, I actually typed them up, and those came from many different facets. It was information that I thought would be pertinent to our situation. And yes, I used data from Accelerate Mississippi. I used data from 10 Twin Districts workforce development. I did a lot of conversations with our local industry. I looked at our student needs and our student wants. So yes, I did use all those data sources to put this plan together. It would have been easy just to go to the RCU website and just pick about 10 programs and just say, hey, that would be good. But no, there's 14 to 15 months of development by using all of those resources to put in the best programs for our area.
Okay. On the Accelerate Mississippi website, in their plan, they speak of K through 12. Period.
They do.
They do.
And what they're attempting to do, like I said earlier, we've got a problem in this state where we're using a lot of resources in K-12. We're using duplicating resources in post-secondary. So this plan is attempting to bring all of those things together. And we're proposing to be one of the first models in the state to make this happen. There's nothing wrong with saving taxpayers when we start combining programs and joining things together from secondary to post-secondary.
Okay, and that, theoretically, that sounds great, but when you're talking about adult opportunities for education, parents are not okay with their children, high school children, being in classes with them. And you addressed that and said, that's not where we're going. That's not what we're comfortable with right now, but we can't take it off the table. Well, I know why they can't take it off the table. Because this has to remain open. The adult opportunities have to be allowed under Accelerate Mississippi's plan. They are going to use these combined learning centers for a one-stop shop of education. That is what the direction is going, people. That is where it is going. So, and I do want to say, if there's any attorneys, these are all my opinions, and you cannot sue me for that. But anyways, when you look at when you look at their tables here, it shows career and technical education programs authorized under the Carl D. Perkins and Technical Education Act of 2006. This is on their website. When I spoke with the attorney, she said right now the plan that they have was from 2021 through 2024. And the merger of the Department of Education moving the CTE to the Office of Workforce Development, i.e. Accelerate Mississippi, is hopefully going to happen in the next planning year. Okay, so the objectives of this non-governmental agency that's going to be driven by industry and workforce is going to be the ones managing it. So Rob might have a little say, Dr. Kane, maybe he'll have a little say, I don't know. But the thing is, just like I read that earlier, there is more discussions that need to be had to understand how this is all going to meld together. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't really think our students need to be the guinea pigs for that. When I'm looking at all of this information, it keeps leading me back to the same thing. Just like when you were on Scotty Ray's show this morning, you said there were 11 programs that were going to move into this facility. When you addressed us just now, I counted 9. And I noticed that when you talked about education training, the educator preparation, you said Northeast. This isn't even on this sheet of paper. It says Ross Collins and soon to be at the LCSD Center, CTE Center. I noticed that it's
called Early Childhood Preparation now at Northeast.
Okay.
And it will be moving to the center and converting slightly. The curriculums are aligned together, but it serves students more than just pre-K. It serves pre-K all the way through post-secondary teachers. So that's why we're wanting to open up more access for students.
Okay, so Northeast is moving there, but not Ross Collins, because you have Ross Collins on this paper.
That would be an educator preparation program there too. And that's why I say we're not.
Well, this says Ross Collins and soon to be at.
Yeah.
So moving it from Ross Collins.
No.
Okay, so maybe this is just misinterpretation. When I look on Facebook and I look up CTE centers, they are popping up all over the nation in rural communities. This Workforce Innovation Opportunities Act, they are targeting rural communities. And guess what? In most of these centers, HOSA is there. West Lauderdale, you have an awesome HOSA organization. Did they poll your students to ask them if they want to go off campus to this?
No, I explained earlier that those programs are staying on the campuses.
Well, for right now.
All 4 of our schools have HOSA at their campuses.
Okay, but like I said, you mentioned 11 on Scotty Ray's show today, and when you addressed us, you only commented on 9.
Maybe
the things on this list keep changing. And as a matter of fact, it seems like since we're at West Lauderdale, we won't talk about...
Okay, I made a mistake. I mentioned 10 programs tonight, but what I didn't mention was work-based learning, and I apologize, I missed that one. Work-based learning is when they finish these 2-year career technical programs, we actually get them jobs in industry, and they go out and work as a result of these pathways that they have gone through. So that's the 11th program.
Okay. So Goal 3 on the Accelerate Mississippi's website. What this lady says is only supposed to be post-secondary education. Develop.
To WIOA.
Okay, this Accelerate Mississippi, their whole intent is to be the facilitator for WIOA.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that is correct.
Yes.
Okay. So goal 3.
Correct.
Goal 3.
I'm not post-secondary, am I correct? Okay.
Goal 3, develop defined articulated pathways across educational sectors K-16 plus to create a pipeline for the workforce. Have we heard those mentioned? Pipeline, we've mentioned it. Okay.
A career pathway? Yeah, well, that's
career pathway, but this also mentioned pipeline. Okay. In the document, it also mentions ecosystem, which I've heard these gentlemen use as well. It's all the same terminology, folks. This is not organic, that terminology. Okay. So when you begin to look at the page 51, it says, continue to invest in integrated technology to meet the unified technology requirements of the Workforce Investment and Opportunity Act, WIOA, and other federal initiatives. Okay, this is the strategic vision and goal. When I spoke with the attorney, she indicated that there's going to be a merger. Okay. One of my big questions is, once this transfers to the Office of Workforce Development and out of the Mississippi Department of Education, would you have even legally been allowed to present this bond to everyone?
I don't know that.
Okay, well,
you're speculating.
I've asked the attorney, and I can assure you that as soon as she responds to me with an answer, I will be calling Scotty Ray to let him know, and the guys at WALT. Okay, to put that on. Because the parents deserve to know if there is a bigger vision that we are not being told about. Because I keep hearing about visions and how this is just for our community. And I'm not convinced with all of the documents that I've read.
The vision is helping students connect to their passion, like I talked about earlier. That's our vision. Get in that pathway, find their passion, what makes them get up and tick in the morning, and bottom line, we're just doing what's best for students. That's part of our vision.
Okay, but here's the thing. We've seen that people can't define a man and a woman. So what happens when they decide they want to redefine student? What happens when they want to redefine what a student is? What will we do then? Because these two are not going to have power over that. Okay? That is why everything aligns with these federal plans. So you have to ask yourself, do you want someone outside of our local area dictating how your kids are going to be educated? Do you want that? And do you want a non-governmental agency that is focused on really economic development, funneling your kids into a pipeline early in life when they cannot have the opportunity to redirect? You are going to pigeonhole them into something that they might be miserable in for the rest of their life.
So maybe
hold on. Maybe a lot of people.
We need to stop right here. You understand? In Ross Collins, I've had students that have gone into programs and they have realized this is not what I want to do the rest of my life. Fine. Let's don't spend 2 years of college figuring that out, all right? I have driven health students to the hospital in Hosa. They have delivered babies in the hospital and came out to the bus because I was the bus driver, and they said, Mr. Smith, I will never want to do this again. I said, that's okay, sweetie. Let's find you another pathway to go into. So nobody is being pigeonholed in any way whatsoever. They are being given their needs. And by the way, my son was in Hosa. He graduated in 2020, and he ended up going into communications. But the leadership skills and the teamwork skills, all that he learned in CTE and teamwork and all of that played into his profession now. So these programs, I'll be honest with you, they all have a recurring theme. It's teamwork. It's working together. It's workplace skills. It's get to work on time. That is what industry is telling us they need. Drug-free. You know, they got to pass a drug test to go into industry these days. Those are the kind of things, and I hate to say this, I hate to use this word, but we're kind of sort of tricking students, you know, but we're getting them into that passion and that pathway early, get them in there so that we can teach them those workplace skills, so that we can guide them in the direction they need to be successful in their future.
Look, combining workforce initiatives all over the state, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong in developing our local area and our industry. I don't want to see this town die, okay? I want this place to develop and be strong, okay? But I think there is something much bigger than we understand going on here. This has been keeping me up at night. I have only slept 4 hours a night since I found out about this thing, because when I went down the rabbit hole, I realized these people here, they are only the facilitators of the vision, and that's it. So when you look at the
vision? What is the vision?
The big vision? The big vision is government and industry partnership. That's what this is. It is very clear here. And when you look at the,
is that what you're saying?
Can I please finish?
Well, you can talk so long. Can I not interject something?
I have talked long, but we sat here where you talked like almost an hour and a half the other night. I mean, I've sat through each one of these. Give me a break.
Well, sure. I'm glad you came back for another. That's great.
Yes. So the Accelerate Mississippi, when you look through their WIOA plan, high school students, that phrase was mentioned on 9 pages. When you look up and search the word workforce, 181 pages. Adult, 111 pages. Industry, 74 pages. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Welcome to my world. That's the documents I have to look at every day.
Right, and I'm worried they're influencing you too much, because I'm worried that we are looking at children as if they are commodities to be sold to the industry. That's what it looks like to me. Because as soon as this crosses over from the Department of Education and it goes here, which the attorney made it very clear that this is the goal, combine all workforce initiatives into one entity. When the attorney was speaking, she said Governor Reeves fought tooth and nail, though, to keep the funding under the legislature. Why would he have to fight tooth and nail to keep the funding under the legislature? And if he had to fight to keep the funding under the legislature, how do you think the fight's going to go if you have a child in a classroom and they want to put an adult in there that cannot figure out if they are a male or a female and they're unsure? Who's going to do the fight? You know what? I'll be here. I'll be here. And I hope every one of you that are voting yes for this thing, I hope you're going to be there with me, because I'll be there because of you. Okay? So just think about that long and hard. The reason why I believe that we have not been getting the full story, I don't think they know the full story. I think there are a few people that know the full story, and we're not the ones. We're not the ones getting it. Okay? So, I don't know. Honestly, I cried before I came here. I did, because I looked and I thought, they have created a prison for our children by talking about pipelines, and we are going to assess what the industry needs, and we're going to make sure that we fill that gap. I don't see kids in that. I don't see kids in that at all. And that breaks my heart. And you know what? Whenever you were talking on the Scotty Ray show, and we're all talking about school consolidation, and I know some of these teachers are thinking, and probably people at Clarkdale, if I complain about my school, are they going to try to consolidate things? Are they going to try to do that? Well, I'm going to bring up a little quote. When you were asked about consolidation, okay, you mentioned construction costs, right? And you mentioned, you know, the cost of construction is going to be high, so that'll kind of dictate our facility planning and maintenance, okay? And then you said also what's going to dictate it is, you know, what's best for the kids, because we can't give the kids the best, you know, with the high construction costs and different things like that. And that there are going to be tough decisions made when you sit down in this coming year to look at the facility planning. But this is what bothered me, is when you said the biggest thing is that we don't always get to make that decision ourselves, as economics from the state level can dictate that. The architect has dictated the timeline. The financial bond person has dictated when the election happens. The state's going to dictate if we need to consolidate. What are we dictating here with our tax dollars? We've got the $8 million for the building, and like Tony said, I believe they can do it for $8 million. I do. I don't believe we should be putting our $12.5 million into someone's plan that they have made for us, because that bond, when you read it, how many sentences is it? There are thousands of pages of documents. Do you think our little language there, our little 3 or 4 sentences is going to keep autonomy if they start putting adults in classrooms and want to do blended learning and, you know, bringing people in? Like, do you think that we're going to get that autonomy? I don't think so, not off those few sentences. Anyways, I know I talked a long time, and I'm sorry, but I don't know. I guess it's up to everybody what they want to believe, how much time they want to spend and going and looking at this stuff, or if, you know, if we just want to hear somebody tell us it's going to be great, and we just want to believe that. But thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
I did expect to get up here this late. I know we've jumped all over, and I come through with a kind of an organized list of how I wanted to approach this. So I'm going to go ahead and start. We might double talk about it, but I got a few questions that's going to lead to some. First off, I went to Ross Collins. I have nothing against CTE. I don't think anybody in here has anything against CTE. Am I correct? Does anybody here not like it? We're here because of the way that this was orchestrated, pushed through with very little regards to the public and the taxpayers. First off on my list was why a special election. You've touched on this several times. You're saying that by having a special election, you're going to save money on interest rates on bonding, correct? Correct. All right. In the mortgage industry, you can lock in an interest rate at an early time. So even though we had not voted and this went through, you could have went ahead and locked in that rate if it passed in the general election. We were going to put this on a general election. You could have went ahead and locked that bond in case it passed, and you wouldn't have lost a dime. So let's just say that might not have happened. Something could have come up and the language wasn't there. Go ahead.
Well, it's the timeline.
Okay.
The attorney looked at the general election date,
Okay.
and when you have to go out and you have to advertise the bonds, you won't sell the bonds prior to the end of the year if you get the results of the election, because you don't get certified the election until a week later. Then you've got those holidays built in. So you would not be able to sell those bonds until the 2024 calendar year.
But you could have already locked in the interest rate on this calendar year.
It's different than a mortgage.
Okay.
From my
All right, so let's just say that's not it. How much is the election going to cost?
As we touched on earlier, we haven't got a definitive.
We don't know. So we're speculating.
$40,000.
$40,000. How much in interest are you going to pay on that $40,000 over a 20-year term?
I'm not sure.
A lot. So it's going to cost a good bit. You don't know the cost of it. And I'm asking why a special election. Did you sit in and meet with the bonding attorney?
I did.
Okay. Do you remember sitting down and talking to him about statistics and how bonds over time are passed, and what way you need to go to ensure that you can have a bond or a vote go your way?
Ensure a vote?
Well, and pretty much ensuring. Do you remember having a conversation with him that he told you that if you bring this on a special election, that the statistics show that it's a 75% chance of an approval rate? You remember having that conversation with him?
I know.
It happened in that conversation.
You were there?
No, I know somebody who was there. Okay. So you've got, you doing the special election because you know you have a 75% chance of it passing. If you wait to the general election, statistics show that it has a 75% failure rate.
Can you cite that?
Can I? It's from your bonding attorney. Go talk to him because you were there.
You're citing statistics, and we've had a lot. So
Well, I mean, you was in this meeting.
Okay.
All right. So we could have done it on the general election, and you probably could have sold these bonds before the end of the year, but let's just say you didn't, and we had to wait till next year. If you're saying it saved $200,000 over this project, that's a 1% cost. Do you not agree that you could take 1% of this cost away easily by being more diligent with the way you're spending money? In other words, that $200,000 really wouldn't have mattered because you could have cut costs somewhere.
The bond is set to be up to $12.5 million.
No, I'm talking about the cost. You're saying that if we would have waited to a general election, it would have cost $200,000 more dollars.
But you're saying we don't have an opportunity to be good stewards of the money once we secure the bond.
We're dealing with we're talking about 34 days for a $20 million project with a 1% cost overrun. That's
a conservative number.
It is conservative, and I agree, but I think that the taxpayers need to know that this was discussed, that the 75% approval rating would be the best way to go because a special election would get them results.
The discussion was if we were going to go forward with an early election or not.
Okay. All right. On your how does the school system receive their money annually? You go to the Board of Supervisors and ask for it, correct?
Yeah, we make a monetary request.
Monetary
for
request. Unlike a sheriff's department or anything like that, they've got to present a budget and go through and tell what they're going to spend it for. You can just go to the Lauderdale County Board of Supervisors and say, we need $50 million to operate this year.
Sir.
They got to give it to you.
No, sir.
That's what they say.
No. Right. State statute says up to 4% school districts have anything other than that requires an election.
No, that's what I'm saying. But when you do your annual budget, you just ask for a certain dollar amount.
We do.
Right. All right. And you can get up to 55 meals?
Correct.
All right. And then you can go 3 meals for debt services.
Correct.
So you have already exceeded the 55 meals.
No, we haven't.
So you're not at 55 meals? What is the millage?
55 on the operating, because that is the cap.
All right. All right. And you've done the 3% for debt services.
That's correct.
All right. So could you go to the Board of Supervisors today and get any more money? No. You're maxed out through the...
We've already budgeted the money.
Okay. But you can't get any because you're maxed out by the state law.
That's correct.
That's correct. So the only way you can receive any more money is by increasing taxes and doing a bond, like we're doing here.
How do you increase taxes? I mean, you can pass a bond and secure the money.
We're just going to increase taxes.
Correct.
All right. So how many bonds does the Lauderdale County school system have now?
In this magnitude?
Of any. What is your maximum amount of bond that you can borrow?
51 million.
All right. What are you at now?
In which part?
All right. If this 12.5 million goes through, what will that put you up to?
12.5 million.
Oh, so you have none right now?
We have lease service agreements.
Okay. All right.
But that's a different financial mechanism.
What is the projected operating budget for this facility?
We don't know.
We don't know.
Because, once again, we don't know if this is going to be the facility.
Okay. But we're asking for money, but we don't know how much it's going to cost.
We got a good estimate of what it's going to cost, but in this rendering. But the people still have to decide if this is going to be the final rendering.
Okay. How many people will be employed in this facility?
You're looking at 12 teachers, according to all the programs that we have. Only 4, maybe 5 of those are programs we don't already have. You're looking at an administrator, which you already have. We have an assistant that will work the front desk that we already have, that I have an assistant now. So really, honestly, it's just a blending total-wise of pooling and consolidating our programs into one center. Like I said earlier, the mechanism for teacher salaries is different in CTE. We will, of course, have to have a custodian. That'll be an extra expense.
School bus drivers?
School bus drivers. Now, we already do routes to Ross Collins. So right now in the preliminary looks, we're looking at figuring out how to alter those routes just a little bit so we can combine those efforts.
How many buses do you think it's going to take to?
Well, it'll probably be 1 from each school.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're saying you have not maxed out you have maxed out your 55 meals through the county
under the current assessment.
Okay. So all monies are expelled there. All right.
As many school districts in Mississippi.
You said that you had to carry over a certain percentage by law in money. And what was the percentage rate on that?
I think state statute says 7%.
How much money are you carrying over in your budget this year? Are you operating in a deficit?
No.
All right. How much you reckon you're going to carry over this year? Because according to that, you're going to have to carry $2.5 million over each year. Mm-hmm. All right. I think a statement was made about the construction of this building earlier and the cost of it. I think it was Deborah said, and you was talking to her about somewhere around a $12 or $13 million. If you go by your $315 per square foot times the square footage of the building, you're at $18.9 million just to build this facility.
Yeah, that 315 was turnkey.
Okay, it's turnkey. So it's going to take that.
Yes, sir.
All right. Of this money, how much of this money will be spent on any other school? According to my calculations, if you go through with the $315 and it's a 60,000 square foot building, you've got $1.6 million left over. All right. How much of that is going to go to the other schools?
It's going to vary by school because we're shifting those programs out of those high schools to the center. So you've got a lot of old workshops and labs that you're going to convert to a classroom that provides space at that. So each one could be a little different. So there's no...
So this bond is not totally being spent just on this facility?
We've been very clear about that.
Very clear?
Yes, I stated it earlier tonight. He stated it. When we move those programs from those high schools here, we'll have to convert those classrooms at those schools back to usable space for other CTE programs that will remain on the campus.
When planning this and you met with your bond attorney and he was saying a special election would be the route to go, why did you then choose to use the schools as a voting place instead of voting in our normal precincts?
So once the decision was made to have a special election, then you had to decide where you're going to house the election. As discussed the other night, anywhere from 24 to 36 precincts in traditional elections. Correct?
Correct.
So if there was an election held at those 26 or those 34, whichever number, I'm not exactly sure what the accurate number is, but those polls would have to be manned and operated, and those individuals would have to be paid. So then it comes down to what 4 areas are you going to choose? It's a school issue. So to bring attention to this being a school issue, we chose to use the schools.
All right, chose to use the school. Why did you choose to use elementary and middle schools instead of a high school? If you're going to have strangers come into your school, why not have it in a school where there's high school's adults? They're more apt to know what's going on. Why did you choose middle and elementary schools?
It was more about parking and accessibility to the voters. So we knew we had a parking lot out here. We knew we had access out here. We could move our teachers and staff and try to provide easier to and fro with the traffic coming in.
Could any of this been related, or the reason this was done?
So let me ask you this,
okay.
Because you want to litigate the process. But see, what's already on the books is the election is going to happen October the 3rd. Okay. It's going to be held from 7 to 7 at the polls. We're going to have security measures in place. The process is, we can litigate the process, go through the process over and over again. The point these people want to know is, am I compelled to vote yes or no? That's what we need. So we're not going to rehash the process. We've discussed the process. Were there faults in the process? Absolutely. We could have been more transparent. We could have started this months ago. As many people said, I would have liked to know more much sooner. But the end result is now, are we going to vote on the process, or are we going to vote on the bond? Are we going to vote on giving our kids opportunities, or are we going to vote on the process all over again? Let's talk about what we're going to do and what we're going to provide kids, and quit going over the process.
I'm 100% for this. But you dictated the process.
No, sir.
And it was the wrong process.
No, I didn't dictate the process. I didn't dictate the process.
Who did?
I make a recommendation to the board, and the board uses the information, and they ultimately have to approve that.
At the end of the day, I believe this would have been a lot better, and I think it's been said many a time, had you come forth and really laid this out to the people, I would have been more on board for it. But the deceitfulness is what we as taxpayers don't like. You did not, whether you want to admit it or not, it was done in a deceitful way. It was. And I think now everyone knows that. My point in getting up here is, let's learn from this. I agree. Let's learn from it. I agree. You know, when it comes to our children and taxpayers, let's learn from it and do things in the correct manner.
I 100% agree with you there.
Okay. Well, that's really all I've got to say. And I have no problem with this program, but we need to work on communication and the way things are handled. And I thank you for your time.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sorry. Hey, Dr. Kane.
Hey, Ms. Talley.
I'm good. First, some of you guys know me from my Facebook post. I'm not here to argue. I'm here to be respectful. I'm not here to argue with Dr. Kane. I don't have anything bad to say about him or Rob especially. I'm not here to, I promise. I'm going to be honest with you. I was a high school dropout. I would have loved a program like this. I came from Knoxville, Tennessee, where this building looks immaculate. It looks phenomenal. It looks so fun and inviting for me and my children. I think it's great. And I'm going to be honest with you. I probably would have never known about this. I probably never would have looked at it if my child wasn't on the campus and a preschool student the day of the election. And that's when my concerns came out, because I am genuinely fearful that she is there that day, okay? I don't want you to think that I'm standing here against this program, and I do have questions, and I know you said no process questions. I have questions about this with the process, but it pertains to voters too, okay? I don't want anybody in this room to think that I'm bringing my Clarkdale concerns to West Lauderdale. I wanted to give every West Lauderdale person a chance to speak. I don't want to be disrespectful. But I have concerns as a parent that I have been expressed from multiple parents that they want to express, but they're in fear to come up here and ask these questions, so I'm going to do that for them. You gave us the absence excuse that I asked for, and I appreciate that greatly. I do. But by giving us that absence excuse, are you admitting that there's a concern for safety in the building that day?
No.
Okay. In the email, I believe it stated that. And so my next question is...
You're concerned. Parents
yes,
concerned.
Yes, parents, yes, yes.
Each parent has a different threshold for safety.
Okay.
So in responding to that, hey, we heard you the other night.
Right.
You know, and you asked, and we said, how can we try to accommodate those parents who do fear that this is something that we need to be concerned about, and we obviously granted that.
And I asked you the other day at Clarkdale if you would give me an email back and if you would respond to me. And I sat at my desk at 4:51 yesterday waiting for a response back. I called your office twice asking for a response, and I didn't get one until I got a screenshot from a friend of mine saying, oh, look, 5 o'clock, and it's excused.
And this is not an attack, but what time did you leave your office yesterday?
I work from home.
Okay. My hand on the Bible, I called you at 6:19 because I was still at the office.
Okay, so I did have a missed call from the Lauderdale County. I will say, I had a missed call. I did. So I will tell you that. I did. There wasn't a voicemail, but there was a missed call. I appreciate that. I wondered if it was you, so I appreciate that. But when I called the administrator, I told her your assistant, I told her, I said, if I don't have my question answered, I'm going to go to West Lauderdale and ask him because I can't get a meeting with him. I can't get him to answer me. And she said, okay. And so here I am. I want to know, today I was sitting down and I got a text message from a friend of mine, and it was a screenshot from West Lauderdale Elementary of a contest for attendance. And that contest for attendance starts on October 3rd and goes through November 30th. Now, those kids are going to be provided with incentives if they don't miss school from October 3rd to November 30th. Am I wrong? Okay.
So it was a date from last year on the, maybe, so it's October 4th, to be clear. October 4th.
Okay, so that's refreshing. Thank you for answering that. I appreciate that. That was a genuine concern from a parent I had before coming here of West Lauderdale. Okay, so I was told personally by the election committee, I spent 8 hours on the phone yesterday calling because I was digging for answers since I didn't get a response. The election committee told me that they went out to the schools with you and the board attorney, John Compton, and they walked around to the schools and they told you and John Compton that the schools were not safe to hold this election. They requested that you do a virtual day, and they stated that Southeast School was the safest school and West Lauderdale was not the safest. That Clarkdale was the next down, but West Lauderdale was the worst because we would have the most voters and the most unsecure place because it's the lobby. And they were met with, we don't care, we're going to do it anyway. So my question is...
Can I ask you a clarifying question?
Sure.
Did they inform you that I toured the campus?
Yes. They said you were there, the board, yes.
So...
Yes.
Are you going to share the person's name that told you that?
I'm not. She asked me not to. She said I could use the election commission, but she didn't want her name shared.
Right. So
but if anyone wants to know, I'll be glad to tell them.
Just for clarity, I did not tour the campus with the election commission.
They said the board. They said the board toured the campus with the attorney. John Compton is what she told me.
The election commission toured each voting site with the attorney, Mr. Compton.
Okay.
No one else accompanied.
Okay, so she told me that it was made apparent to the board that it was unsafe. Was it made apparent to you that it was unsafe?
No.
Okay. That's fine. If you don't recall, sometimes I have conversations. I don't remember either. That's okay.
I haven't spoken to anyone from the election commission.
Okay, that's fine. So I was also told...
Other than Senator Tate, if it's still involved.
Okay, right. So another question is, after after that conversation I had with her, I reached out to John Compton to ask him, obviously I have fears of my daughter's safety, and I asked him, if something happens to one of your children, my child, whoever, on this campus on election day by a voter, who is held legally responsible for that? And he answered me after talking for a few minutes, and he said, the school district is held responsible, which is expected. Also, the Lauderdale County Sheriff's Department is held responsible, okay? And the SROs that are being on campus and that don't already believe that it's a safe campus. So these people who don't think that this is a good idea, who don't want to do this with our kids present, are going to be held responsible regardless. They have to be there by law. They're being forced to be, or they can quit, I guess, their job. But they have to be there, and they're being held legally responsible, okay? I don't think that's fair to force that on them. I don't think that's fair at all. Do you?
Are you asking me, do I think it's fair?
I think it's fair,
Law enforcement,
right,
which is their job, which is their code of what they do and what they sign up to do to provide, serve, and protect and enforce the law.
Yes.
Do I think that's fair?
When they presented you, and I spoke to the Lauderdale County Sheriff's Department also, and he did tell me, in fact, that they did have concerns, that the person over the SROs, he said they didn't have the staffing to equip this, and they were nervous. And he said that they were worried about the safety issues, and those were also brought to your concern, but there's nothing they can do. They have to just follow the rules. They have to go along. They have to work and do the best they can, is what he told me, and I believe that they are.
They are. They're fabulous.
I believe that they are.
We're fortunate because we're one of the few school districts in the state of Mississippi to have an SRO on each campus. A lot of school districts don't have that relationship with our sheriff's department. So we're very blessed to have an awesome relationship with our sheriff's department.
So it seems to me that we're not showing our gratitude by our awesome SROs by forcing them into a liability issue if a child gets harmed for an election that shouldn't be held at a school early, that they don't even support being held there, that they've expressed their safety concerns with. They do this for a living, and you've been told, and you're going against saying, I know better and I don't care.
No, I don't know better. I think you need to refer to them for their comment and maybe their supervisor of what their duty is and what they're willing to do. In their professional capacity.
Sure. Okay, next question. Will a no vote on this building hurt the county schools even more? If we vote no, is this budget going to hurt all of the county schools? Not just Clarkdale, but all of the county schools?
What are you talking about?
I'm asking you, if we don't vote this in to play, and you're going to continue this building, right, and you're going to pull that money.
Not in the current state.
Okay, but you're going to downscale it. That's what I'm asking you. Right. Is the money that you're going to pull from this, is that going to directly affect the schools in this area, in the county?
We budget every year for all of our schools, all their needs as best we can. So this would definitely be a part of the future plan going forward. We're not going to hurt a school because of the outcome of an election that we've asked the people to vote on. I mean, we're not vindictive people. So to say, are we going to do some harm to one school or all schools because we didn't get our vote? No, ma'am.
Okay. Are you neglecting the campuses and all of the issues at the campuses for justification of consolidation?
Can you say it again?
Are you neglecting the issues at the county campuses for justification to consolidate those campuses?
So you're asking me if we're not repairing, fixing, maintaining things so I can justify consolidation?
Yes.
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. How are you paying for the election?
Out of the budget.
Okay. And what if it doesn't get passed?
It still comes out of the budget.
Okay. So the election commission said, they told me that you're forcing them to pay for it, and you're telling them that you're going to pay them back if it's passed. And when they asked you if it wasn't passed, how was it going to be paid back, you couldn't give them an answer.
Once again, I haven't spoken to anyone from the election commission.
The board. We'll say the board, not you, but the board.
They hadn't spoken to the election commission either.
Okay.
The attorney's handling the.
The attorney.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, sure.
So what happens is the state procurement laws are still into effect. Even though we have an election down here, there's still state procurement laws that have to be obeyed.
Okay.
All right? And so instead of having several small little purchase orders, you have to say, okay, we're going to go for one exact, because again, we don't know the final cost. So it was agreed upon that we would pay the final cost once we have the final number, so it'll be a clean procurement.
Okay. Is it true that they walk on white folding tables at Northeast Elementary School currently when it rains?
Yeah, there have been times when it's flooded. I mean,
Okay.
we've seen floods.
Okay.
It's not just at Northeast, there's
But
other places
But
that.
they're using white folding tables on the ground to walk on.
We made substantial improvements on the backside of that campus where we have concrete that we elevated. Some of the individuals here were responsible for putting in additional drainage on that backside to curtail that rain.
Okay.
Now, when we have flash floods that we have, like we have in Lauderdale County, hey, it can come and it can rise in a lot of different places. So those waters recede, but once we try to get it identified, we try to budget to make sure that we can take care of those needs.
But they are walking on tables.
I haven't seen that as of
Okay.
late.
My 11-year-old told me that.
But
Okay.
My point is this: if it's flooded and they've got tables to keep their kids out of it, we're going to do that.
Okay. So today I spent about an hour on the phone with the state board, the state school board. I think his name was Brian McGarity. Is that right?
McGarity.
McGarity, there you go. And he relayed some information with me, and he said, you know, I wish I could do something. I wish there was something that I could say. But unfortunately, we have no say. We can't do anything. It's in their right to hold this election at the school, even if it's unfit, even if it's unsafe, even if you disagree. Is that true?
Are you
That
asking
you
me,
can, yes, can you, are you the sole person that is responsible for this? The board, your school board?
We follow the state law in deciding the special election and the location of the election.
So that's all I wanted to make sure was that you agreed that you are sole responsible, you're the board that is responsible. No one can step in and make you stop this election, correct? Even if it's unsafe, even if we hate it, even if all these things, nobody can make you do anything. You're allowed to have it how you want.
We follow the state law.
Okay. So my next question is, we've all had concerns about safety, and we've expressed those concerns, and all it takes is to help us with that concern, and I think I speak for myself and a lot of other parents. I will go away. You can have your vote yes, and I will go away. But today when I talked to the state, he told me that he was going to go and he was going to contact the Homeland Security to make sure they're monitoring our Facebooks and they're monitoring the sites and they're checking phones and they're doing all of these things to ensure extra security. He said they didn't have the manpower, but they did have the ability to do that. Have you done that?
Have I done
Did you take that step?
monitoring Facebook?
No. Did you take the step of contacting the Homeland Security to protect our children?
No.
Okay. We're allotted 10 days that we can cancel school for weather or whatever. Why didn't we use one of those 10 days?
It's a choice we made. Obviously, there's a lot of parents who have financial hardships when we're out of school. And so the consideration was also made for those parents who don't have means to have proper child care for their students.
Okay.
That's one of the biggest pushbacks we got over the years as we've continued to try to push down virtual learning days. Is a lot of parents said, you know, you're putting an additional financial burden on parents with young children. And so hearing your concerns the other night was trying to let parents know, hey, if you feel that, you know, you would rather your child stay at home that day, we're okay with that.
Enter at your own risk, right? Okay.
Where?
Where? The schools. Enter at your own risk. That's what you're saying by that letter. You're saying that the children and the parents should allow their kids to enter at their own risk.
Anywhere you go in public today, I think you enter at your own risk.
Okay, all right, that makes sense, okay. So today, when I was talking to Greg Hartley, I had heard that he had reached out to someone in your administration, and they also expressed safety concerns. That person doesn't want to be named, but they also stated that their hands are tied, that they have no way to stop anything, that they can't do anything, none of this can be stopped. I don't understand when you have all of these people asking you and begging you and pleading with you, and even if the concern is moot to you, even if none of it matters to you, and we're telling you we're genuinely afraid, why wouldn't you reconsider just maybe giving us a virtual day, maybe sacrificing one of those 10 days?
We gave you a day.
No, you gave us an excused day, but you didn't close school.
No, we didn't close school.
Okay. Okay. This question is related to Clarkdale. I'm sorry. I just have one question. I was told today that Pickering Engineering Firm is doing the investigation on the mold at Clarkdale. Can you tell me when they're coming? Because the state board didn't know. Monday. Okay. Okay. I have another question that I was asked by another parent. You had meetings, or you had a meeting with Clarkdale. I don't know if it was you or if it was the board. I can't speak on that, about consolidation. Now, you only had a meeting about consolidation with Clarkdale. You didn't have that meeting with West Lauderdale, with Northeast, with Southeast, only Clarkdale. Did you use that as a scare tactic to get them to stop talking about the neglect in that school?
I didn't have a meeting concerning consolidation.
Okay, okay. Well, the person that told me that's watching, so if you guys want to know, I promise you can find out everything I found out today just by researching just a little bit. I promise you. Do your own research, I'm begging you. This question is not for you, but it's for Rob. I don't know, he's busy right now. Hold on just one second.
Mr. Smith.
This question is for you. Now, I told you today I didn't have any ill will on anyone, and I don't. I respect you. I don't have an ill will to say about Dr. Kane, and we're okay, right? My issue is, I truly believe that you have good intent for our kids. I truly do. My issue is with you. You were made aware, even if you didn't know before 2 nights ago about these issues, you're made aware now that we feel that this is unsafe, and we feel lied to and neglected, and we're hurt by these things. And all of this thing said, if you're so concerned with our kids, why aren't you standing up for them when we feel they're unsafe? We strongly feel they're unsafe. And that makes me concerned, because how would you feel if you were expressing a concern saying, I feel my child is unsafe, and you felt unheard and like no one was listening?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that question, because, I'm sitting at the table more so, listening to all these conversations. I'm not in the seat of Dr. Kane. I'm not in the seat of the board members. But I have taken a bird's eye view of this situation. I've heard the conversations that they've had with the sheriff's department. I've heard all the details that principals meetings that we've had at central office to go over what that day is going to look like. I've heard them talk about moving teacher parking so there'll be more accessibility. I firmly believe the plan is solid, and I think that the sheriff's department and all the plans that we have in place is going to be safe for our children that day.
Even though I'm sitting here telling you that yesterday they told me that is not true.
I'm just telling you.
And I know you spoke to my husband, and you're a believer and I'm a believer. Sure. And I believe in telling the truth. And I don't believe in sugarcoating, and I don't believe in lying, and I know that you're the same way. And that's my question is, I'm telling you that that's not true. I'm telling you that the people that I spoke to yesterday for 12 hours, 8 hours, however long on the phone, are telling me that some of these things that we're being told as parents are not true. And I'm expected to believe them, and I'm put in a rock and a hard place because we're the ones voting on this. And I don't feel confident either way because we've been neglected for so long and we haven't been communicated with, and it makes it hard for me to vote yes on anything like this.
I understand.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
I was watching from home. My questions weren't getting answered, so here I am. My name is Michelle Joyner. I do have a child in school here at West Lauderdale. And first I'd like to say, Dr. Kane, I appreciate you for coming out and, doing this. And of course, Rob, I have the utmost respect for you. You've given a lot of your time and talent to the kids of this community for years. So a few of the questions I have, and I left my notes at my office because I wasn't planning on coming down tonight. So in an article in the Meridian Star dated back in June, there was a statement made about the school district was still awaiting $3 million in insurance money. Has that been received yet for insurance for Clarkdale?
There has been monies received. The final drawings were submitted today to the business office. Those plans conducted by Mr. Legendike were now to be sent to the insurance company. So to be full transparent there, no. But I don't want to say too much in case there is litigation that does transpire.
I understand. Gentlemen, I think this has been an exercise in transparency, or lack thereof, and how important it is that you be transparent with all of the parents and the taxpayers in this district. Dissemination of information has been a challenge as long as my kid's been in school, and I know administrators and teachers are very busy. I even had a conversation with Andrea Williams a couple of years ago, I think. How many people have gotten an email that's a notification for a peach jar, something that you click on this to get to the peach jar flyer, then you download the flyer itself that gives you the information that they could have just put in the email. So, yeah, that's an issue. So ESSER funds. The first ESSER funds, stage one, was $1.1 million, and I understand the majority that was spent on, all of the stuff we dealt with at the beginning of COVID, the masks, the cleaning efforts, having the schools deep cleaned and all of that. ESSER funds 2 was spent on iPads for all the students K through 12 to help with distance learning and to have that technology available to them. Also included in ESSER funds stage 2 was the installation of HVAC systems in the gymnasiums that are used for basketball and volleyball. So ESSER Fund Stage 3, there's $10.5 million in ESSER Fund Stage 3 that the school district has until the end of September of next year to allocate. While I've been sitting here, I actually found where there is a plan for that there's a little bit over $6.2 million remaining in ESSER Funds 3. And there is allocated in foundations under academic space facilities, ESSER Funds 2.0 remaining funds in that is $171,000, a little over $171,000. Allocated towards the facilities is a little over $3.1 million out of the remaining ESSER Funds Stage 3. Is any of that being allocated towards this project?
No, ma'am.
Okay. My next question, a 2020 CTE review by State Auditor Shad White. Schools received $43.2 million in taxpayer dollars during school year 2018-2019 for the Career and Technical Education Program, yet outcomes cannot be determined due to incomplete data. What is your plan for evaluating and measuring the success of this program?
So certainly fall under, our local guidelines as far as, teacher performance and things of that nature. But ultimately over that, we've spoken about Perkins funding. We are graded on national certifications that we offer for students. We're graded on our work-based learning experiences that we provide for students. What else? My brain is running together. Academic standards. We have to make sure that a certain percentage of our CTE students also meet academic standards. And I'm happy to say in our district that we're meeting and excelling all of those standards above and beyond what's just the average normal.
So the students that participate in CTE programs, will their academic information, their grades, the scores, the CTE scores, the certifications that they receive, will that be statistically tracked?
Yes. And matter of fact, it might be a little premature to mention this, but our accountability model is looking at being changed, right? I heard that straight from the Mississippi Economic Council when I went to that Accelerate Mississippi Symposium. So we're about to see a shift in what they call the A-rated school districts, the B-rated. more and more CTE accountability is going to be built into that model in the future, according to those things that I've just told you about. So yes, it will be tracked.
Right, okay, so I had gone on the district's website and did the email, and I believe the next day you responded to me. My question was, is this part of any federal initiative, and is it intended to be part of the state DOE's college and career readiness standards? Someone else here mentioned the Accelerate Mississippi thing. A lot of what she said, I don't know who she is or where she went, but a lot of what she said was rooted in fact. College and Career Ready Standards is the new name for what we knew as Common Core. Common Core has been implemented. It was adopted in Mississippi in 2010 in the hopes of getting Race to the Top funds, and only one district in Mississippi received any Race to the Top funds, and then they got under investigation for misappropriation. So part of the original plan with Common Core was to have a path, to establish programs that led kids on a career path. You know, I think where we have an opportunity here, now any teacher in this school who taught my child can tell you how I feel about Common Core, because I met with all of my kids' teachers every year at the beginning of the year. Anybody who knows me personally can tell you how I feel about Common Core. I think where we have an opportunity here, as long as we are not beholden to federal marching orders on things, we have the opportunity to make this program what we want it to be. And as with anything else involving our kids, if you want to make sure your child is getting the best education, or you want to make sure the program they're involved with extracurricularly is what you want it to be, the way to make that happen is to get involved and be an involved parent. And I think the school district and the board needs to remember that involved parents are your greatest resource. Involved parents equals successful students. Because I have a lot of friends who are teachers. I work in a law enforcement environment, so I have a lot of friends in law enforcement. But when you have parents who don't care, or parents who are not involved, that's what gets us into trouble. So I appreciate the school being open to me coming and asking, hey, what is being taught in my kid's classroom? Because they did away with school books. The teachers have to go online, find the information they want to teach, and make copies of it. Okay, I don't see anything come home. You know, so, sir?
And then they kick you out of the board meeting.
Well, I haven't attempted a board meeting yet because I'm usually working or something during those times. You know, well, and yes, sir, and I'm trying to be gentle in saying that involved parents are their best resources, and they need to understand that, because transparency, absolutely, transparency, and parents having knowledge of this whole situation would have gone a long way to garner support for this project, and that's true of anything. So. Another thing I heard Dr. Kane mention, you very briefly, just split second, mentioned the arts. And I am an advocate for music and art education. And most people don't know that the Meridian Symphony Orchestra, most of the people who play in it are not from around here. If you want to have that, you've got to support music in schools. So if you want to have a symphony, if you want to have artists, you've got to put some support into the music and arts programs. And the music programs are woefully underfunded. Band is really the only extracurricular activity available where all these kids can walk into just about any college in Mississippi and get some type of scholarship. That's the only program that can say that. But the issue with the issue with funding has always been, it's always been an issue for the arts and music programs. But that's, music and art is something these kids can do for the rest of their lives. My dad's 80 years old and he still plays music and gets paid for it. It's a great thing to foster the love of that. And you're talking about sparking kids' excitement in something, getting them excited about something goes a long way. And if you want to see an example of that, go look at some of these band kids. So what I'm asking from you is to fund the arts and music programs like you mean it, okay?
I just want to comment, just because there has been some recent upgrades there. I've heard. Yeah.
I've heard. Most people don't. Most people who aren't musicians don't know how much instruments really cost.
Correct.
What you see as a marching tuba.
Right.
Those things cost in excess of about $11,000 that I know of. Right. Last time I checked.
Somewhere right in there.
Yes.
So we did. So our band directors reached out to us this past summer, and we heard it, and said it is expensive. It does cost, and we had a successful year out at Southeast. Making the state on the top 16, and then West did as well. I think we've solidified Clarkdale with a director who's fired up about doing things, and then Northeast continues to.
They were all at Excalibur last Saturday, and they all did a fantastic job, and we enjoyed coming together with all of them.
Right.
And it's something that's a very positive thing in our school system. On another note, someone mentioned about the dissemination of information, and whether or not you think parents want to be inundated with constant information. So I believe the idea, I got the email with the letter given the excuse for October the 3rd, and I think, this knife cuts both ways. So I think the issue of safety and security is solved with that, because you put that out there, every parent who is uncomfortable sending their kid to school that day has the option to keep their kid home. If you're worried about your child being safe at school, don't send them. And you have a free parent note. So I think that addresses that situation. My kid will be going to school because he goes to the high school. But I have complete confidence in our SROs and our law enforcement team. But I'm sure any parent that wants to come and stand in the lobby would be okay. So I had one other question about the money that I wanted to ask, and I can't remember what it is. So we had the ESSER funds in excess of $16 million, and none of that is being allocated towards this. And the $3 million insurance money for Clarkdale is allegedly on its way. And
it's an estimate. What I mean by that is the last estimate of the 300 repair from the architect did not reach that number.
Okay, I'm basing my information off of an article in the Meridian Star from June of this year.
Correct. So the latest that we got, and of course you don't know till it's bid, but we got an update so everyone knows. Looking at the way you have to bid that out, number of days on the calendar, I think the 300 bid, originally we thought October 31st would be open, but I think it's going to be November 1. At 2 o'clock, but that'll be out in bid. But that's the latest update we got. But the $3 million number was for the 300, the roofing, the ball field. It was an estimate trying to come up with a number. So I don't think it's going to be quite that on the 300 building, which is the one next to the road that is still closed. But the softball field did come in at 1.9.
Okay, so back to the question of how we're going to measure the success of this program. I think the main question with taxpayers, including myself, how are we going to measure our return on investment? Because that's essentially what we're talking about here. We're talking about $12.5 million that we are investing. Yes, we're investing in our kids, we're investing in their future, and I am all about technical education and training, and I want our children to succeed whether they stay here in Meridian or Lauderdale County or not. So will there be any type of, I guess, if you place someone in a job, are you going to, if there's a job available over in Alabama or down on the coast, are you going to place them there? Or are you going to reach out beyond Lauderdale County to place them for jobs, or are you going to focus on placing them? I understand you'll want to focus on placing them here in Lauderdale County, but if Ingalls down on the coast is hiring welders, are you going to place them down there because they have an opportunity for a job?
Well,
and how does that affect our return on our investment?
Sure. What we want to do is create more taxpayers, because if we create more taxpayers, the burden on every individual goes down a bit because we're creating more taxpayers in this area. Now, I did fail to mention one thing in our accountability model, that we are also graded on placement. That's one of those federal guidelines. So I'm actually in the process of doing that on our programs right now as we speak. I've got to finish that report tomorrow. So we do focus on local first. There's no doubt we would always put local first. Of course, I can't force a student to stay locally. If they find a job somewhere else that's paying twice the salary, I couldn't force them to stay here. But we're definitely going to focus locally, and we're going to cooperate with our local industry to make sure that we're creating pathways into that workplace. For example, Lockheed Martin is interested in being a part of our advanced manufacturing program. So we definitely want to run students through that program with Lockheed Martin in mind, but we can't stop them from going somewhere else. Does that answer your question? We're going to focus locally first.
Yes. Capacity of these classes, with it being open to Lauderdale County School District students, City of Meridian students, homeschoolers, how will you decide, if there's a lot of competition for one program, how are you going to decide which students attend that program?
So first of all, Lauderdale County students will get priority in these programs.
Okay.
100% priority. And it's the same model that we used at Ross Collins. Meridian High School got priority there. Now, we do actually currently pay for slots at Ross Collins. I looked at, I think it's about $24,000 to $25,000 we pay Meridian Public Schools to secure slots there at Ross Collins.
So will that expense cease to exist once this comes into existence?
Yes, we'll trade those slots
How much
out.
do we spend paying Ross Collins to send our students there?
About $24,000.
Per?
Well, it's a percentage of the electricity, the materials, the cost of teachers in the particular programs that they can go to.
So is that paid by the semester or quarterly or yearly or what? Annually? Okay, so $24,000 over the course of a year for our current enrollment at Ross Collins.
That's right. And electricity, I think I might have mentioned that, gas, that sort of thing. I think it's the formula is we're paying 8 to 9% of the total operating cost of those particular things. The electricity, the gas, that sort of thing.
A couple of years ago, I believe I talked to someone at the district office regarding the district's budget, where the money's going, because we all want to know where the money's going. I think that's a natural thing because we're taxpayers, we're parents. And a response I was given was that, well, Meridian Public Schools only has one public high school to fund. We have 4. So has there ever been a discussion of consolidating and having one very well-funded, very well-staffed central county high school as opposed to 4 that may struggle with staffing or building maintenance? Because I know a lot of the county school buildings are pretty old. Has that discussion ever come up?
It's far above my pay grade.
No.
There you have it. I was just curious because, Neshoba County has a really large, nice central high school. And I know that would be many years in the making if it ever did happen. And I think that's all I have. I just had questions about money and accountability, and the information, this being part of the college and career ready standards, how much of our students' information will go into a state longitudinal database system?
We report those figures that I was telling you about, placement, those kind of things.
So no personal
They
information?
don't report personal information. It is just by program, by student. And when it gets reported to the federal government, all student information is taken out. We report to what's called MCIS, and that's reported to the state. So when we input data into MCIS, it is reported to the state. But when it gets reported to the feds, it's only reported in percentages.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, guys. I'm speaking to the mic. I've been standing in the back. I know it's been hard for me to hear some people speaking. My name is Hank Fairchild. I have a background in the military. I work at Keyfield full-time. I've been in the National Guard for 21 years. I graduated from Meridian High 24 years ago, almost, and I participated in 2 years in that drafting class that you're talking about. So I'm surprised to hear that maybe those same tables are still there, or maybe not now. I did not obviously go into that field. And I say that maybe to give a little bit of background. I've worked in aircraft maintenance for 10 years as a mechanic, basically. Right now I'm in logistics in the military. If you want to make rank and increase your pay, you have to get behind a computer for the most part. So that's where I'm at. I just want to say this is an excellent idea. It's long overdue, and I don't think, as it's been mentioned, anybody in here disagrees with that. I think, and I will say this too, this is my 5-year-old Henry, who has been very good. My wife is going to kill me for continuing to have him here this late. I apologize, Amy. I've also had 2 daughters who are now at the middle school who have gone through this school, and I say that to bring up the points and to speak in contrast to the input on school safety, and maybe I speak in contrast to the potential or the raising of taxes. First, I would talk about safety. I have no concern. I see the administrators and people in this room, as their school board members here. I have zero concern. I send my kid to school here every day. There's no concern from me for the safety of my kid. He's the only one that's here right now, so I know exactly where he'll be. I trust his teacher. I trust Ms. Church, the counselor, Ms. Hull sitting back there. There will be plenty of people here because I've seen them here. As a military veteran, I have friends who have committed suicide. Nobody's talking about the Veterans Day parades or events that go on at this school. I can't speak about Clarkdale or Southeast or Northeast. I know Southeast does a Jam Up program. I have a coworker who graduated from Southeast. There's no vetting of any personnel who comes through that door other than it's Veterans Day. Bring your dad, your granddad, your uncle, your mom, your grandmother, your aunt. It doesn't matter. And they come in this school. We go to football games. There's Grandparents' Day, Thanksgiving feast. None of that has been mentioned. And I say all that to just speak in contrast to the safety issue, like Jack Nicholson has left the insane asylum and said, buy Nurse Ratched, and we're unloading them at the front door of the school. I don't believe that's going to happen. Do you have vulnerabilities? Yes, all the time. Keyfield is safe. But I'm here to tell you, there has been a shooting at that front gate. There has been incidents at that gate. You cannot mitigate every issue, every potential vulnerability. I think there's a plan in place. I find it discouraging in a way, and I will say this first, that I agree there should be more transparency. I think that's been acknowledged. I'm not going to harp on that. I think there could be more communication. I enjoy getting the phone calls from Miss Andrea, the emails, the text. I have the ability to filter that out, so I agree. It could be a little better on certain things, but if I'm understanding correctly, and I've done my research, I don't have a bunch of notes. Obviously, I'm not reading off of anything, but I hope you don't feel like I'm not prepared. I feel like what I understand is there's opportunities presented in a short time frame, and we're doing the best that we can to make this happen for our students, for our county, and for East Mississippi and West Alabama. To be frank, I think if these kids go through these programs that are offered, and with partnerships like at Meridian High, if I'm not mistaken, I don't want to speak out of turn on behalf of Dr. Huebner at MCC, I feel like it's a win-win for him as well. I don't know if he's attended some of these events. That's what I really wanted to say is I don't have a concern for safety. I feel like the other schools have a similar plan. There are going to be resource officers there. There's going to be faculty and staff. I don't think it's going to be a problem. And I don't mean that to in a way that's discouraging. I don't belittle your concerns, and I'm just being honest. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to get out of here. I got to get him home. I don't want a response. I'm just saying. I do not. That's right. Yes. Yeah, I'm speaking for myself and some people that I've talked to. I am not concerned. The safety issue is not a concern for me. The tax thing, this right here, for me, who's lived here all my life, I want this fella to have the opportunity. I want my daughters, if they choose to have the opportunity to participate in something like this. I interviewed a young man yesterday. I participated in Leadership Lauderdale last year. The Youth Leadership Lauderdale held interviews yesterday, the first round. Had a young man come before me, one of only 5. I only got to interview 5 students. One had in his packet what are 3 benefits of Lauderdale County. One of them was this right here. He listed that as CTE coming to Lauderdale County. I have no reason to lie about that. I'll tell you this too. I had a friend who maybe I thought was a friend text me while I'm sitting here because they can see me on the camera and asked, how much are they paying me? And sir, I have a lot that I could say for you, but I think it's discouraging, it's disrespectful, and there's things like that to call out somebody like that who's done research. He has books up here. And yeah, I don't agree with that. Just because you want to vote one way or the other, it's not right to call somebody out and assume or act like they're getting paid or some kind of kickbacks. I assure you, I'm not getting any kickbacks. My pros to this facility, these programs, far outweigh the cons of maybe some potential risks, safety, because I have no fears. The taxes, I'll gladly increase my taxes per year. I've done the research. I know what maybe the potential would be in a range. That's not a problem for me. I don't think the taxes are going to increase to a level that's going to cause anybody any hardships in different situations. I know it depends on your family situation, your level of income. There's a lot of variables there, but I support this, even though that may cause an extra burden. I don't have any questions. You've answered my questions. The other people who have spoken have helped me answer my questions, which is why I like to wait till the end. I can't leave here, and I'm leaving as soon as I get done speaking, and I hate that I may miss something else, but I could not leave here without expressing an alternate opinion and an alternate thought to the safety risks and the tax increases and some of the other things that have been mentioned. So thank you for your time. I don't know you personally, but I know people who know you, Mr. Smith. Dr. Kane, I've had the opportunity to talk with you in the Leadership Lauderdale experiences at the Workforce Development Center, and I appreciate the efforts that you're putting into this and the school board. I can tell you this, in the military, we strive to get things right the first time, but it doesn't happen. We strive to do everything perfectly, but it's not going to happen. And these guys are not perfect. The school board is not perfect. I think I'm looking at some right now that say, okay, we've learned some things. And that's what you have to do. And as we move forward, those learning opportunities, I think, will shine with this leadership moving forward with this CTE program. So thank you for your time. Thank you for presenting this tonight and being here and standing in front of the fire to take the hard questions and answer them and to speak on behalf of what you've done over the last several months and even in the planning prior to that. So I'm done.
What's the expected date that this is completed? If it gets past this, like a functioning.
The question was, what is the date, the completion date? So the soft opening we're hoping for is 2025. It will be a lot of bumps in the road. It won't be smooth. The hope is to be able to go from January 2025 to August to iron out the logistics, the class, and have a really, really great August 2025. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for coming out here tonight. We know this is an important issue. We know it's one that many of you are wanting to know more about. You attended tonight and expressed your views, and that's what this is about. Able to come out, ask those questions, get some clarification on things that you may have thought, or maybe you're more solid now in your thinking than you were. But we appreciate you coming out. Please be safe, and thank you for supporting Lauderdale County Schools.
Here we are. This was the very last one of these discussions.
Right.
Been here for a while tonight. A lot of people had a lot of concern.
Like when the chicken was going to be served.
Yeah, we were waiting for the kitchen to crank up, but we never did get that far. But, great turnout, and Dr. Kane,
right.
Whatever your thoughts on this, if it's a vote yes or a vote no, whenever have we had someone who stood in front of the limelight and took the punches?
Yeah, it's at the end of the day now, Tuesday, go vote yes or no. You've heard all sides of it. It's up to you, the voter, to decide which way you want to do it. We want to say thank you, and when we coming back, Odie?
And we'll be back. Well, it won't be 23 hours. It'll be just a few short hours from now. We'll be back 6:30 a.m. for the Scotty Ray Report. 7 o'clock, we'll be there for Scotty Ray and Odie for your Friday morning. Join us then. Thank you. Have a good evening.